people in the chat room. Let me know if you could hear me. All right, guys, let's let it go for another minute, and then it looks like the whatever bit rate seems to be stable at 3,500. But my computer's still running a little bit slow, but let's see what we can do, guys. Maybe we can get a show going right now. Maybe we can. Who knows? But my stupid computer screen with the internet is not doing anything. Come on. Forgive me, guys. Trying to see what's wrong. Be right back. Okay, guys, I think I'm back going now, and we're going to try to start the show in just about 15 seconds. But if it goes awry during the show, I'm going to have to quit and stop for the night. I've been online sitting down for 8 hours, and nothing's working today. So here we go, live in 2 minutes, and let's see if it works out. beautiful aliens out there. It appears the fourth time might be a charm. I have been trying to broadcast live since 4 p.m. and it appears it might be working. I don't want to harp on it. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to start the show. It appears to be working. So let's move on and let's just start the show. This is the Happy Alien Podcast, where each and every week, if internet permits and the world wants me to do a show, I will come live to you with a guest talking about whatever they want to talk about. And this is the show where I talk about whatever I want to talk about, whether it be pop culture, latest news, conspiracies, my favorite football team, or whatever. And I like to have a no judgment free zone. And hopefully by the end of today's broadcast, podcast, whatever you want to call it, you're a happy alien. We got a good show for you today. That's why I've been so upset that the internet, the streaming, my computer, my technology, whatever, it just was not working today. Because we got a fantastic show. And I've been sitting down for since 12 o'clock. And it's now 7 o'clock my time. So I've been sitting down in the chair with a little bit of exercise. But now we probably got a 2.5, 3 hour long show. This is a long day for me. So, if you guys could see your way on liking the video, subscribing, becoming a member, picking up merchandise, whatever you can to support me, I'd appreciate it. Because I do put in the work. And hopefully I've earned your subscription. That being said, we're going to talk about some interesting stuff today. There was a moon landing the other day. And we're going to expose that. There's a real alien invasion going on. We're going to talk about that. Forgive me if I'm being very vague. But like I said, I've been online for like 7 hours. And I've tried to do this now 3 times. So I think I'm recording on my hard drive this time. So if anything goes wrong, I'm just going to continue with the show. And it's going to record on my hard drive. And then I'll upload it tomorrow or the next day or whenever. But let's just do this show. Sorry, guys, I'm a little frustrated. So we got Helgi23 online. My boy Jason Smith, independently blind. I love you, brother. RJ's online. Naysayers is back online. Brent Mania is always online. I appreciate you all. I love you all. And let's just move forward with the show and hopefully no more hiccups. We got a really good show for you guys today. So let's do all the stupid, crappy graphics that might not work and might mess everything up. But we're going to try again. Please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. There we go. Please hit that thumbs up, that subscribe button. Consider becoming a member of this channel to support me and help me out. And hopefully I've earned it by the end of this long day, guys. Long day. But we got some good stuff coming up. Chinese EMP weapons. We got a good show, guys. All right. But I do have to represent the people that are sometimes helping me out. We got freelanceflavor.com. They got rubs and spices and all that good stuff for your food needs. Pick them up. They taste great. They're fantastic. Homemade. You know, they got recipes on their website. They got a YouTube channel where they do comparisons of food. And it's called Flavor Frontier. But check it out. freelanceflavor.com for your rubs, your spices, your sauces. Use code BauerTime for 10% off. Get yourself some amazing stuff. They don't got a lot of stuff on their website, but it's really, really good and tasty. Better than that stuff you can buy in the stores, honestly. And you're supporting a good dude, a good friend of mine, and me as well. 10% off with the code BauerTime. All right, I wanted to respect the members, the new members that joined up in the past 2 weeks on this channel. I can't see the names on screen, but there it is. I wanted to represent you guys and say thank you guys for supporting your boy in my adventures. If even for a couple of bucks a month, it does help me out, and I appreciate you so much. And I got a store, guys. Check out the store, merchandise, everything available. I sell homemade items, like personal items, t-shirts, We've had a few issues with the design, but we fixed them, at least one of them. But the shirts are going out. Pick yourself up a Happy Alien t-shirt. Pick yourself up some autographs from some of my career shows. And I would appreciate that truly, because this is one of the only ways I'm able to make a little bit of money through YouTube, because they flag everything. Pick up the Happy Alien t-shirt, wear it, take a picture, and it'll be on a future episode. Pick up the mug, drink your coffee. That reminds me, boy, I haven't even drinking my iced decaf coffee for so many hours. But pick yourself up some gear, and we got the Zeke the Plumber shirt. And we're going to talk about Back to the Future. There's a theory going on around, and we're going to expose it on today's show, guys. So there it is. I also got Cameo. Sorry, got to do the housekeeping. I got Cameos. If you need a shout out, you want me to do karaoke, you want me to roast you, shout outs for a little bit of money, and you get free text messaging from me for 3 months, and you get an autographed headshot or photo sent to you through Cameo for that purchase. And I've had a lot of trolls lately pay me to do cameos, and they wanted me to do some ridiculous stuff. So I did it, but not, I half-assed it, but they paid me like $50 for it. So go ahead. If you want to pay me and try to troll me, and I ain't gonna do it up to your standards, I still get paid. So we'll leave it at that. All right, guys, I want to remind everybody I'm going to add some home collection items in the next couple weeks. I'm going to have some whatever props or clothing that I got left over available, because I sold a lot of it because I need money. But in the next week, expect some new items in the merchandise store, guys. So please keep a lookout on the merchandise store. I recommend everybody go to the link that's down below. I recommend you go to it every Friday morning. Okay, every Friday morning before these shows that are now going to be on Fridays. Maybe Friday at 7 o'clock instead of 4 o'clock, because that wasn't working. But yeah, I recommend you go to the store for some new items, because sometimes they're one of ones, and you might be the only person to get it. That being said, these are our best sellers, and we don't need to go for this past month and a half. And in every episode, I pick a winner. I write down a number. I wrote it down earlier when we tried to do the show. I'm not going to tell you guys the number, but if the super chats or donations during today's show reach that amount, you win a prize from my merchandise store. And we had a winner the other episodes or two ago, and from the super chats, and he sent me a picture. There it is. He's wearing the Zeke the Plumber 2.0 t-shirt, because we had to fix that design. But we have to fix one other t-shirt's design, and I'll do that in the coming week. But there it is. He's representing. His name is Figure Carnage, and also Make Luke Rad Again. Congratulations on winning from my merchandise store through super chats and donations and supporting me. I appreciate you, brother. Now, let's see if I can make this screen a little bit bigger, guys, so I can see what's coming next, because my screens are real small. All right, yes, so we represented him. And now, Pirate 1975 is online. I love you guys. Brent Mania is back online. All right, let's just move through this front part with ease, because I'm just going to continue this show throughout, no matter what happens, and I'm recording it. So, there seems to be 7.2 million illegal migrants entered the U.S. under Biden administration. That's an amount greater than a population of 36 states. Well, this is the real alien possible invasion that is happening in our country. But we're not only going to talk that type of situation that's very scary. We're going to talk about what might actually be happening behind the scenes. Because I have a video here, and there's a lot of Chinese migrants that are now entering the country. And we're wondering why. Then there's a lot of reports about them buying farmland, as we're going to see from Dr. Phil on Joe Rogan. And this is very concerning. And the reason why I'm kind of fast forwarding through this It's because I did this a little while ago, and I just don't want to continue talking. But let's watch this, and we'll talk about it. And I don't know if Dr. Phil is becoming a conspiracy theorist, because he's on the right train, and he's wondering why people are not asking questions that the Chinese are buying farmland next to U.S. military operations.
Buying the Chinese government or Chinese nationals buying farmland, and I've got a map, if I can find it, of where they're buying this land, and it's around U.S. military installations.
Wow.
They're
Why?
buying up land around U.S. military installations.
Is it a real invasion?
And
from migrants
and
or
so
Chinese?
when you look at the amount of land that they're buying, it's not all that much. It's a lot of land, but given as much land as there is, it's like maybe less than 1%. But when you look at it strategically around military installations,
Yep.
It's really concerning.
Scary.
And then when you look at what's happening at those military installations that they have land around, like B-2 stealth bomber training, drone training, and all, it's very, very troubling.
God,
Then
so
the spy
strategic
balloon?
where it's all placed.
Yeah, if I can get a
satellite.
hold of that map and show it to you.
The Sataloon.
It's kind of crazy that the United States has been invaded. And when did that start?
Woo! When did it start?
With the purchase of farmland.
You know, it's been going on.
For how long? Like when did it? This is talking about. Son owns 40% of Chinese-owned land in the U.S. He owns over 100,000 acres of land in Valverde County, Texas. Although his two companies, Brazos, Highland Properties, and Harvest, Texas, through his two companies. His purchases in 2016, 2017, his plans to build a wind farm, as well as his purported ties to Chinese
wind
military,
farm
drew
where there's
scrutiny
no
in Texas
wind.
several years
Yes, I've
after
watched
his
this before.
acquisitions. He ultimately was denied permission to proceed with his wind farm plans. So they own the land, but they won't let him proceed with the wind farm.
Yeah, and they're building a wind farm where it's not very windy.
No wind.
But it does
Yeah.
butt up against a strategic military installment.
Installation.
What a coincidence. This is the best land that was available.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So-
how would that be possible here under logical laws? Because in China, you can't do that. They're smart.
Yeah,
you can't just
buy
buy
farmland in
their
China
land.
next
We
to
absolutely cannot buy
their
farmland
military
there.
No.
installations.
No, you can't buy their businesses either.
Now, we had a man on talking about this, a farmer, and he said they also own the grain elevator where we sell our grain. The Chinese own that.
The
Chinese government owns
Chinese
that.
own the grain elevator where they sell their grain. It's a great interview from Dr. Phil. I don't know whether he's becoming a conspiracy theorist or not, but I love the fact that he's asking questions. Pretty dang interesting, guys, to say the least. And, like, it's a good thing that some of these powerful people in the media are now asking questions that we've been asking for many years. Not only about conspiracies or aliens or other stuff like that, against some of these simple questions that should be asked. Now, the reason why this is scary is because we all know that migrants are crossing borders. And whether you have a problem with it or not, or they're truly asylum seekers, or whatever the case may be, is America cannot handle 7.2 million migrants ever since Joe Biden has been in office. And I know we were built by migrants as well. But now, there's something more nefarious going on with countries using strategic people to cross the borders, the Chinese, the Colombian militaries. I think there's videos of a lot of, I don't know, what is it called, like Iraq or Iran. Sorry, forgive me, I don't have the best words. But there's many different cultures that are coming into this country illegally. And that is a crime. And there's video now to prove it. And when they're asked questions Like, oh, why are you here? They're like, oh, I don't know. But you ask them, oh, you know, where are you from? Oh, Iran. What are you doing here? Oh, you guys are going to find out soon. Like, what the hell? There's video like that online. There's also a lot of videos about Chinese right now. So, let's watch the rest of this Joe Rogan podcast, and let's find out if we're being invaded and what they're going to do with the migrants. The theories are that the migrants are crossing the country illegally, and they're giving credit cards, hotel rooms, and everything because the Democratic community wants them to vote. You know, how can you keep winning elections while you bring in a new America with migrants? But these are some of the theories that are going on. Now, this gentleman, very intelligent, is on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about the migrants and the elites and what they might actually be doing to this country and with its military. Let's watch this, guys, and let's discuss. Please hit that thumbs up, that like, that subscribe button. Again, Super Chat is available. I'd appreciate it very much, but you don't have to. But I love you guys, and now let's watch this. This video scared the living poop out of me when I watched it. Very, very scary.
Such that even the elites who make this happen are not going to like the world that they're going to create. They may not even be able to live in it, right? That's the biggest concern I have, right? If I thought that they were diabolical but knew what they were doing, then my sense is, well, all right, we're in for a bad 100 years, and that's terrible, but that's not extinction, right? I think we're actually headed for extinction because I think these people have no idea what they're playing with.
Yep.
They do not understand what needs to be preserved. They think
they're doing good, but they're just ruining
functional
everything.
Enough for them
The world.
To live.
How is that conversation not taking place? That's what doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
is it coming from a place where they never feel like they're ever going to go back to poverty or to any sort of chaotic world that we could envision if everything falls apart?
There are other hypotheses that are darker.
This is where it gets amazing.
There's talk about the possibility of trading citizenship for military service. I think that's a very frightening prospect, but I didn't invent the idea.
Okay, guys, we're talking about migrants, and there's a possibility of giving citizenship to migrants for their military service. So migrants come across the border, military age that we've been talking about, and there might be some laws. There is a proposal that migrants will be given citizenship if they join the military. I'm going to let them speak, guys, but this is a dark idea that is actually happening.
It has been discussed, and the problem is that to the extent that we saw things like the vaccine mandate drive out the skeptics from the military, this process would also bring in a lot of people into military service who would have more reason to follow immoral orders than a citizen soldier who had been American their whole life. In other words, if the power structure is granting you citizenship which you want in exchange for your obedience, then what is it that would cause you to say no? So if you wanted a force that was capable of acting on behalf of tyranny against Americans, then a force that doesn't have a deep history with the rights of being an American, that doesn't have a long-standing allegiance to people within the country, that force would be potentially more compliant. So, if you imagine, in my naive state a few years ago, the idea was, well, you have a very well-armed populace, you have a military that's likely to be divided about immoral orders. I don't like the sound of that, but I don't think that it's a slam dunk that the tyrants win, because the part of the military that's not going to follow immoral orders and the citizenry that will fight to defend the republic, that's a pretty powerful force. But then you have vaccine mandates,
God,
which
this is so
force out
interesting.
most of the people who are independent-minded from the military. And then you have the idea that migrants might be granted citizenship in exchange for military service. We still have to get whatever that cabal is out of power immediately.
Damn right.
This could not be more of an emergency. We've seen through how dangerous these people are, how little they care about our well-being, and we have to rally around whatever it is that addresses this problem. And, you know, as much as I'm not a believer that Trump on his own can do the job, I would far prefer him to another standard bearer of that cabal. The cabal is too dangerous. And I say this, as you know, I'm a lifelong Democrat, right? This is my party that I'm telling you cannot be trusted with governance. But that's where we are.
The border crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So
Listen
you
to this,
went
guys.
and saw the migration. You saw the groups of people that are making their way up through.
Yeah, I was invited. Actually, my son Zach, and I went to Panama, where I have some history. I did my bat work on Barrow, Colorado Island in Gatun Lake, the Panama Canal. So Panama's a place I'm familiar with, but Michael Yan invited us down to go look at the migration in the Darien province of Panama, which is the province bordering Colombia. As you probably know, there's a gap in the Pan American Highway, about 60 miles, that were never built.
Wow.
In this highway that otherwise stretches from Prudhoe Bay, Alaska to the southern tip of South America.
That's how the migrants are
And
coming in.
what's
And
there
then they're replacing
is
our military
a,
with jab mandates.
Tremendously
If you don't take the
significant
jab,
and very difficult jungle.
you cannot be in the
Darien
military.
Gap.
Then they're going to
So there's
replace them with
national park
migrants
there.
for citizenship.
And ordinarily, people do not cross the Darien Gap. It is a famously difficult obstacle. And what we see there is that the international community
Listen to this.
is encouraging a massive migration of people from South America
The communities
into Central America, and that almost all of those people
are opening up these
crossing our
places that are
southern
crazy
border
to
and
cross.
entering the U.S.
They're
The ones
making
who are
it less
questioned are
hard to
claiming
cross so
political
they can come
asylum,
into
which is,
America.
not accurate. So we talked to many migrants, and the universal story amongst the migrants who would talk to us is that they were fleeing bad economic conditions in the direction of what looks like greater opportunity. They've been told by the international community that they should come across the Darien Gap, where many of them are not surviving the trek. It's extremely dangerous. And they're migrating north. Now, the really troubling thing, though, is that that migration is familiar in one way. It looks a little bit like the migrations of Central Americans that migrated north when we were kids. But there is another migration.
This is
There
the
is a
great point.
migration of Chinese immigrants that looks different, feels different, and is being housed in a totally separate way in Darien for reasons that are not in any way obvious. Now, I don't know exactly what to make of that. I have hypotheses.
Whew.
There are no more than that.
The
but
Chinese migration is different than the
Chinese
Colombians and
migration
Spanish.
is not forthcoming about why it is migrating.
They
It
don't
is
tell you why they're
composed
coming.
mostly of young military-aged men. There are some women present, but it's not 50-50 by far. And the international community has arranged separate encampments. The Chinese are in many cases traveling a
Why would the
separate
Chinese
way
be separate
across
than
the Darien
the
Gap.
Colombians
They're
or the
skipping some of
Spanish
worst parts of
refugees?
it, traveling by boat.
They got money.
And as I think I mentioned, they
It's a
are,
planned coup.
when asked where they're from, where they're going, why they're going, they are uninterested in talking. There's a hostility to it that I found shocking. Because for one thing, if you imagined folks from almost anywhere in the world were heading to the U.S. because they didn't like the way things were in China, they feared their government, they thought that there was economic opportunity, they would be curious about Americans. These are soon to
this
be
is
their
so
countrymen.
fascinating.
They would tend to be interested in talking. And even if they, for some reason, because they had lived under a totalitarian regime, felt that they couldn't talk, they wouldn't be broadcasting hostility. They would be ambivalent or
That's right.
something, and that is not the impression that they leave when interacting with them.
He's
So I
talking
found
about the
that
Chinese
utterly
migrants.
alarming, and I came to wonder if the migration of people coming up from South America, many of whom, by the way, are not South American. There are people coming from the Middle East. We met
Middle East, there we go.
Afghans, there are people from Iran, Yemen, all over the world. They land in Ecuador, which has no visa requirement.
No
and
visa
they migrate
requirement in
through
Ecuador, they
Colombia
land,
into
and then
Central
they migrate
America,
through Central America straight into the U.S.
But in any case, that massive migration seems to provide a
Cloak
cloak
for the Chinese.
for this other migration from China, which is nothing if not mysterious.
Buying farmland, too. Look at Rogan.
Why are they letting it happen? Why do you think the government is allowing the border to be so porous? And why are they resisting when Texas tries to do something about it?
Well, I always worry when we're trying to understand what's happening and the information is not being shared with us.
Yep.
You have to ask yourself the question of how many separate things are in play,
Ooh.
right? Before I went to Panama, I thought there was a migration of people. Now I think there are two. One of them's clearly a migration, and the other one could well be an invasion.
An invasion. The real alien invasion.
So if I know that there are two things, then I can put them in two categories, and I can ask myself the question, why is this being allowed and why is that being allowed? The consensus, maybe consensus is too strong, but the belief amongst many who have been on the story of the migration for years now is that this is a ploy to create voters, democratic voters.
Now here's that
I
theory.
don't think that's impossible. I think that's probably playing a role. I don't know how realistic it is. I don't know whether or not it is clear that migrants necessarily carry the likelihood of voting blue that the blue team imagines. But anyway, I think
He's
that's a
debunking
plausible
that theory
explanation in
about
part, but
voting
I don't think
with the migrants.
it really covers it.
He
There
literally
are
thinks
other
it's an invasion.
hypotheses that are darker. There is talk about the possibility of trading citizenship for military service. I think that's a very frightening prospect, but I didn't invent the idea. It has been discussed, and the problem is that to the extent that we saw things like the vaccine mandate drive out the skeptics from the military,
That's right.
this process would also bring in a lot of people into military service who would have more reason to follow immoral orders than a citizen soldier who had been American their whole life. In other words, if the power structure is granting you citizenship which you want in exchange for your obedience, then what is it that would cause you to say no? So if you wanted a force that was capable of
I think we've already watched this. I think this is like a double
acting
down.
on behalf of tyranny against
I think this is a double down on the video we watched a little earlier, but it's fascinating, guys. Really think about it. This theory that, first off, America wants to replace its military with migrants by giving them citizenship. So therefore, in order to get rid of the people that would fight back if the government has nefarious orders for its military, like go against your people. You know, teachers are supposedly terrorists. The military would be 50-50. They would have immoral orders. Half of the military would be like a sheep. I'm doing as I'm told. This is my job and I don't care. Then the other half are American citizens full of the legacy and love of America. And they're like, I will not do that against my own people. How dare you? But you want to get rid of those people that will not listen to that order. So how do you do that as a government or a bad entity? Well, first off, you make the jab mandated, where you have to be mandated in order to be in military. Then the people that don't want to get it, they're kicked out. Those are possibly some of the people that would not want to do immoral orders. So now you have to replace those people with people that will do your bidding and do your immoral orders in the future. How do you replace them? Well, you get rid of them first with the mandates and all of that other stuff. Then you bring in the migrants and you grant them citizenship and money and all that. And now they take the place and they become half of the other military, and they have no allegiance to America. The only allegiance they have is because they're now a citizenship. So they're going to do whatever America tells them because they got their citizenship. They don't care about killing Americans if they need to go against their own people in the American military. That is a fascinating concept. It is scary AF. And I think it's happening. As a theorist, I like to ask questions, see some stuff, and then I use whatever my common sense is and I put it all together and I go, I believe that is happening more than that. This opened my eyes and my mind when I heard this about that military aspect, and it made a lot of sense. That's why the migrants are of military age. There's more men than women. And then there's also that invasion from the South American countries. But the Chinese are buying farmland, as we just spoke about, next to military installations. And they're working with the Middle East and Russia. And we are in a world war right now. We're actually in World War III. People don't want to admit it, but we are. Oh no, it's the Ukraine war. It's the Gaza war, the Israeli war, that war. No, we're at war. It's just not, we're in World War III. Every country has weapons. They can control things, internet, satellites, whatever. All these countries are at war against each other, and we're literally at World War III. It's just not happening on the ground. That's my opinion, and I'll leave it at that. But this Chinese migration and buying farmland is using the migrants as an excuse to get into the country. Same thing with the Middle East people. And we're literally being invaded. And this is the beginning of maybe 5 years from now, a major event happening. But this is an election year. So things might be ramping up as we talk about on later of today's show. AJ, you're 100,000% right. Michael Ray, Helgi, very dangerous. Make Luke rad again. Thank you guys for chiming in. And thank goodness it looks like the internet and everything is working. So we're going to be able to finish today's show. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. Hit that like, that subscribe button. And now let's talk about some more interesting stuff. Saudi Arabia is building like an entire world built within a straight line. It's called the Community of the Line. That's right, it's happening. What the heck is it? There was a movie or a TV series that came out a few years back, and forgive me, I don't remember the name, but it was about an invasion of aliens, and everybody had to live in this line, like with different levels of a community, and they were akin to the outside world. And if you were banished from that community, they would throw you outside the walls of that line, and you would have to forage and fend for yourself versus evil creatures, evil aliens, or whatever else was taking over the world. And this is actually being created in Saudi Arabia with all that oil money to populate millions of people in a short distance. So in the future, as in the movies we watched, where we saw communities in sky, in space, inside buildings, millions of people living in pods or whatever to make room for whatever else, more land, I don't know, but it's happening. Let's watch this video and let's get your take on this situation. Here it is, y'all. Saudi Arabia is building a thing called the line. And it has started happening officially. They're also building a WWE theme park.
For too long, humanity has existed within dysfunctional and polluted cities that ignore nature.
Are there more Chinese balloons? Yeah, I haven't looked, but there are plenty in the atmosphere. But let's watch this Saudi Arabia line thing. This is fascinating.
For too long, humanity has existed within dysfunctional and polluted cities that ignore nature. Now, a revolution in civilization is taking place. Imagine a traditional city and consolidating its footprint, designing to protect and enhance nature. The line will be home to 9 million residents
9 million!
and will be built with a footprint of just 34 square kilometers.
9 million!
And we are designing it to provide a healthier, more sustainable quality of life.
Next to the ocean, the waters.
The line's communities are organized in 3 dimensions.
3 dimensions, 3D!
Residents have
Now, real quick, they said nothing that's ever been seen on Earth before. Do they know something we don't know? Maybe about the moon or other places? I'm just saying, that was an interesting quote. Nothing like the Earth has ever seen before. Are the aliens that are actually living amongst us or have been living with us helping this? This is insane. It's also interesting. Would I live there? Sounds cool. But man, like this is literally the future of this planet. It's like those games, the video games, the Sims or whatever, where you build a community, you build land, you take over land, then you build huts, you build tents, you build houses, then you build skyscrapers, then you build the line, areas like this, then they end up going in space, then you got missiles, and then now instead of, building outwards, we're building taller like they do in New York. We're literally looking at the future right in front of us. But why now? Why was this information released? It was released about a couple years ago, but now the video just came out, and they're starting the brainwashing to get us all ready for this, because we have talked about smart cities before, and you guys know what they're building, whether they did it in Lahaina, and they're trying to build smart cities. This would be considered a smart city, but a bigger one. And it would be a city that's bigger than what they're trying to produce on the islands. And why do they want to use islands? Because it's next to the water. And they got the trade routes and the this and the that. It's fascinating, guys. We don't have to watch it again, but let's just watch the ending. It's insane.
nature.
That's insane, guys. Let's look at some pictures of it. So they finally just recently started developing the line. There it is. They started drilling into the sand to make room for the levels. And there's on the picture to the right is the prediction of what it'll look like in 2025, 2 years from now. They'll have the outside walls and the structure, and they'll build from within. Kind of reminds me of the Denver airport. Have you guys ever been there? There's some interesting stuff there, but they've gotten rid of most of that Illuminati stuff. But it's a big Mason Illuminati place, the Denver airport. Check it out. There's footage online. But there it is, guys. They've officially started the line in Saudi Arabia. And there's the length next to the oceans, 170 kilometers. I don't know how big that is in miles. I'm going to say that's something like 200 miles maybe. I'm just guessing. I can look it up. You guys can look it up for me. Maybe you're smarter. But there it is. And it's right up. It's on a triangle right next to the oceans. And then how will the line operate? All right. On the top layer will be the pedestrian layer. That way you can get the sun. You can get the sun. You can get the trees. You can get the breeze, the trees, and ooh, look at that. I think I got a hole in my shirt. Got a holy shirt. You can get the trees and the sun and the parks and whatever's built on that top level. So maybe you can feel rain. Then underneath it, concrete? I don't know, I'm guessing. It says an invisible layer of infrastructure. Invisible layer underneath the pedestrian layer. You got the service layer, where, the food and the supplies and everything go through there, I guess, right? Through that layer. But I don't believe that's throughout the entire line, because where are the apartments or the little structures where they live in? Maybe that's still considered the pedestrian layer, where they have apartments or something. I don't know. Let's move along. Then we got the spine layer. And then, look, it's got like buses and trains and subways and the guts and the electricity and the whatever else is on the spine layer. And it said AI-enabled transport will be on the spine layer. The AI-enabled transport, ultra-high-speed transit, next-generation freight opportunities, or operations, sorry. Okay. We're doing this. I could definitely meet some more women if I lived in a closer community, even if I never got out. The pedestrian layer is right above me or right next to me. I could just walk out. And then there's 9 million people there. And I can reach 9 million people within 20 minutes. That's right. That's what they said. Within 20 minutes, you could reach 9 million people. That's a lot of, for the good-looking people, that's a lot of sex. Congratulations. You're going to want to live there. For the loners, will they let you have sex? Who knows? I've heard a story that in Europe, some people are renting apartments where you're not allowed to have sex in it. And they can kick you out of the apartment if you have sex. Yeah, that's happening in Europe. All right, look at that. And then here's more information on the layers. Space, live, work, and create. Live, work, and create in the same place. Hey, that's what I'm doing in my apartment. I don't need the line. That's what I'm doing here. I'm living, working, and creating in my same little space. It's built for people, not cars. Oh, cool. No smog from the hog. And mama cooked the breakfast with no hog. I got my grilled bone, but didn't pig out. Finally got a call from a girl I want to dig out. Hook it up for later at the line. 100% clean energy. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. Even electricity in the air is not clean. I don't know. That's just my take. And it's built around nature. It's built around the desert and an ocean. I guess the desert is considered nature. Why? Economy. Driving diversification. Hey, every gender, race, creed can live together within 20 minutes of each other. All right, that'll be great. It'll be like the scene in Star Wars where they're in the bar and you got all the creatures of different likes and things. And that's where Greedo got shot. And yes, Han shot first. And attracting investment and talent. Attracting investment and talent. Okay. Creating 380,000 jobs of the future. Contributing $48 billion to the GOP by 2030. All right, time, 5 minutes walk to nature. It's only a 5-minute walk to nature. Guess what? I could walk outside, and I got concrete and a tree right outside. That's less than a 5-minute walk. But aren't you guys built around nature? I don't know. Life enhanced by AI. Ultra high speed continuous transportation. Ultra high speed continuous transportation. Well, when the trains make noises and people are in their apartments every hour or two, they don't like that noise. But now you got to live with ultra high speed continuous transportation. Okay. Fulfill all of your daily requirements within a 5-minute walk. Now, that's an interesting thing. Let's read behind the lines on that last statement. I know you guys can't see it, the screen or the quality ain't the best, but underneath the black square that says time, the last one, it says, fulfill all your daily requirements within a 5-minute walk. Oh, you can get all your requirements in. Well, somebody has to make those requirements. So, is there an overlord that gives you daily requirements? Or are they just speaking hypothetically that you give yourself daily requirements of a 5-minute walk? But that's a little phrase that you got to think about. If you're going to live in this community, they're going to have an overlord. And they're going to have daily requirements. And if you don't fulfill those daily requirements, do you get sent to the service layer? Do you get sent to the spine layer? Do you get sent outside into nature? Hey, but don't worry. You can fulfill all of your daily requirements within a 5-minute walk. So whatever your requirements are, 5-minute walk around or in a line, you can do your dishes, you can do this, and you can do whatever else they tell you. And I think they were adding sex in a daily requirement. So let's think about that. Helgi said Greedo shot first. All right, guys, there it is, the Saudi Arabia line. What are your thoughts on it? Do you want to live there? Would you live there? Let me know your thoughts. It's interesting to me because I like the future, I like technology, but I'm also afraid of the overlord nature of it. And not only that we're sheep and slaves now, pretty interesting, guys. All right, now let's talk about what's going on. We talked about the Chinese, the migrants. Are they invading our country? Well, we watched a movie, or I did, called Leave the World Behind, where they predicted a EMP blackout of technology, of cell phones, or whatever. And again, people don't really believe it's going to happen until they see it in a movie. But we have been predicting this for years, and now it seems like the timing is perfect with the election ahead. What happened the other day, and happened probably to my podcast earlier today, AT&T and all the other cell phone services went out. Now the mainstream narrative is a hacker attack. That has been proven to be false. Apparently they said it was not caused by a cyber or a hacker attack. Then the other narrative is, oh, it's solar flares. Solar flares from the sun are shutting down the satellites and the networks and all that. But here's a simple question for you people that believe in it was solar flares or a hacking cyber attack. do they pick and choose? Because it started with AT&T. Then, 20 minutes later, it went to T-Mobile and the other cell phone carrier services as we now know. So, if it was a cyber attack, that could be plausible that it started at AT&T, went to T-Mobile through the computers and all that, and spread its way out like a disease. That might be plausible. But it would have also shut off Wi-Fi on internet signals from your Wi-Fi company. But that was still going. It was only in the cell phone network that everything went down. So would a hacker attack that could spread stop at cell phones? No. If a cell phone was attached to a Wi-Fi network in your home, it would attach to that and it would hack that as well. Is this a test of something bigger to come where they were testing out one part of the system? Maybe for a global collapse? I don't know. Now let's talk about the solar flare theory. Well, if that's to be proven true, we have solar flares every day. Some of them are bigger than others. Some flares are bigger than others. Some flares are bigger than others. Get your Morrissey on. Some flares are bigger than others. And why hasn't this really happened before to this massive a scale? Then on top of that, are solar flares choosy? Where they start with AT&T in Florida, New York, and everywhere? And then that solar flare, it started with AT&T when it hit the Earth. But then it said, you know what? I'm going to expand and go to T-Mobile, Verizon, Boost Mobile, etc., so on and so forth. And I'm not going to shut down the home Wi-Fi that are on satellites or in cables connected to that. No, I'm a choosy solar flare. I'm a choosy solar flare. Okay? If a solar flare was that big to affect cell phone coverage throughout the East and the West Coast, it would have attacked all the other things. But it's a choosy solar flare. It's a choosy solar flare. Again, whether that's officially debunking of those theories or not, I don't care. But you know what? This got me thinking. Is this something bigger to come, like predicted in the movie Leave the World Behind? Is this something bigger to come in an election year? Well, here's something that brought my attention to a boil. We had an AT&T outage in an election year. Now, when did this happen before? 4 years ago? Did this happen 4 years ago? It did. In an election year. Albeit after the election. But do you guys remember the Christmas Day Nashville bombing that froze wireless communications? And it exposed an Achilles heel in that regional network? That was a conspiracy on its own. Oh, it was just some guy in a van. He set an alarm. He told everybody, stay away. In 5 minutes, this van will detonate. Watch the videos online. In 5 minutes, this van will detonate. Get away. In 5 minutes, this van will detonate. Then you had the bombing in Nashville, and it shut down communications on Christmas Day, and it rocked the world on Christmas Day. In the morning, when everybody's waking up to get their presents, it was in a manufactured event for everybody to witness and to let people know that crazy people go in vans that are MAGA supporters and blow up vans in the middle of Tennessee. But why did it affect the AT&T network? Because the van, or the EMP, was parked in front of a big network hub for AT&T. All the servers were there that housed most of the East Coast all the servers from the AT&T networks and computers were housed in that Tennessee building where the van just conveniently parked next to. But, you know, it was about the election, and it was about Joe Biden winning the election. That's why he blew up the van. Because he was MAGA, and he was mad that Joe Biden won. No, that's not a good theory. People say this might have been to rig the election, but this happened after the election. The election happened like November 19th. This was about a month later in 2020. But again, think about this, guys. If the election was rigged in multiple counties on the East Coast, Atlanta, this, that, here and there, if it was rigged, whether it be online voting systems or whatever allegedly that has been talked about, if some people went into the computer networks, changed something that these machines were attached to, how would they attach? Through the internet and the networks. They would attach through servers. And where was the biggest house server location for most of that area? In Tennessee, where the bomb exploded and took out that entire facility and all the data and information within it. So, allegedly, if there was any rigging of the election, now that they're starting to look into evidence to find out if it was rigged, conveniently, where a lot of that information and data was housed, got blown up by a MAGA supporter in Tennessee on Christmas morning. They don't talk about it. That's why you got to get people like me that do my research and understand what's really happening. You don't have to believe it, but what I told you scared you and made sense. And we're in an election year again this year. And now we have AT&T going out a few months earlier. Maybe they're testing the system again. Maybe they're going to do a bigger attack before the elections or something. I don't know. Again, Republican voters vote normally the day of the elections. Democrats do all that stuff in the mail. They do it online before. And Democratic voters normally do all that stuff before. But Republican old voters that would vote for Trump, if this theory is to continue, they vote the day of. They walk to the facilities and all that. But if we have an internet outage, a phone outage, or anything that happens the day of the election, that'll cause mass chaos. And they won't know where the votes are coming from, who's doing what, what's doing who, and they can get away with anything they want. Just a theory. It's a working theory. It's a food theory. I love that guy's channel. Let me look at a couple questions real quick just to respect you guys. Hit them all at the same time. AT&T was just the first to report. Okay, I'll take that, Jigger. Coincidentally, that center ran the entire region. That's true. I think I said that as well. It seems like a test to you, naysayers. That info would be stored on a certain server that would need to be destroyed. That's what we're talking about. Evil Abe's Highway to Hell. That's a cool name, brother. You still have any of the Willie signed VHSs? I do not. If I can get myself another Willie's VHS and buy it, I might do that in the future for you guys. So hit me up on DMs and maybe we can work around it if you're really interested. All right, now the other theory for this AT&T shutdown is, and this is a little bit of a possibly less plausible one, and it's not about the elections or whatever. It's about Disease X. Do you guys know what Disease X is? Well, it's the next disease that they want to present to the world if you believe the first one The COVID was not official, you know, for whatever agenda they had on that. Well, the WHO chief a couple of days ago, that's right, on February 17th at the World Government Summit, spoke about that disease X is coming, and it's not a matter of when, but it's a matter of when and not if. So, the people that control diseases are saying disease X is coming. And X means the next bigger COVID. Okay? And people are thinking that the AT&T network's going down has something to do with the 5G electronic activity. And they can change your body, your blood, and your levels with radio waves. It has been proven. So this goes to the 5G theory that they finally got mass produced in almost probably 85 or 80% of all cell phones nowadays are 5G. So that goes along with the theory that they're going to manipulate your body if you got the JAB, and there's something nefarious in there to control you, to make you a zombie, that they're going to use the internet, the cell phone system to outbreak whatever's in your body from the JAB, and that would be considered through 5G. Manipulating the radio waves to go inside your body to create that outcome that you got from the JAB, and then now you become with another disease, or you become a zombie, or you become controlled. Again, that's the theory with 5G. And that disease is called, they're already giving it a name. It's called Disease X. And now the WHO is warning us about it. The WHO? Them. The WHO? Them. The owls. The elite agenda Illuminati owls. The WHO is telling us about it. Then we had the AT&T attack. So, all of these theories might be at play at the same time. To rig the election, to get rid of data, to manipulate voting systems, and to roll in the 5G, the radio waves, and to create another disease, so people have to stay at home and vote, or this and that, and they depopulate the planet as well. Again, they could all be at play. But when people like me put all these theories together, and we say, you know what? That's what's going on. Then all of a sudden, oh, he's wild, because he has 5 different theories. Whether all of them make sense or not, which they do, or they could happen, but when you put all 5 of them together, the world goes, you're definitely crazy. So you can't do that. You have to stick to one theory. But again, like we heard earlier, all of these things can be happening at the same time. They can be. It's pretty interesting, guys, all of this stuff. Let me know your thoughts on what you think is actually happening with AT&T. Is it for the elections? Is it for 5G? I want to know your thoughts. I really, really do. Because I believe all of these things are happening. Maybe not at the same time, but they all could happen at the same time. And that's why conspiracies scare me. I know I love thinking about it and trying to figure it all out, but they actually scare me. Okay? Because we don't know what's happening. Now, speaking of we don't know what's happening, but let's bring it to propaganda. We all know that propaganda is rampant in our country, every country around the world, the globe. We don't know real from fake anymore. We do not know. What did you say? They're almost giddy with excitement about the next one, Helgi. You're right. They love it. They love it. These are their pranks. These are their jobs to create the Great Reset, the New World Order. You know, this is their jobs. But let's talk about propaganda. All right. Everything is against Russia right now. We had the Russian hoax, the Russia gate with Donald Trump, the elections, everything is all combined. Well, there's a new report, and I don't believe satellites are real. We've talked about it on other shows. But apparently, Russia is attempting to develop a nuclear space weapon to destroy satellites with major energy wave. Now, we just spoke about energy and waves with communication with stuff like 5G. We do know they have direct energy weapons on this planet. If it is a planet. It's a plane. But Russia is now attempting to develop nuclear space weapon. Okay. This propaganda news just came out recently at the same time as all these energy attacks. And now let's watch what they say that Russia can do with this nuclear space weapon. I mean, if Russia is attempting to develop it, and now we're talking about it, we already have them. They already have them. Other countries already have them. Whether they're actually in space or not, or, on rockets, I don't know. And do you even believe nuclear bombs are real? There's some footage that might tell you otherwise. I don't even know if nuclear bombs are actually real as they exist. I'm still studying it. I'm looking into it. But there's some footage where they're in a box filming a nuclear explosion in the 60s or 50s. And they're in a box probably a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles away with that technology filming the bomb. Tearing up houses. Where's the camera? If you see houses exploding, that means the camera's in that general area, whether they got a zoom lens or not. This is the 1940s or 50s or 60s. And their zoom lenses are close enough to be hit by that nuclear explosion. Well, they were in a container covered by lead and this and that. Well, still, the waves of energy might not have tore up or melted the camera that was 2 miles away from these houses being destroyed in a nuclear bomb test, but the radiation would have destroyed the film. Same thing can be said about the moon landing in the film. All right, let's watch this report on this Russia nuclear space weapon, and let's laugh. This is in propaganda from the American government trying to sell us that there's going to be an attack that could happen. And we just spoke about the AT&T network and all that. They're preparing us for an attack, whether it be from the Russians or ourselves. They are now preparing us for some sort of this attack, probably this year. And they can blame it on the Russians because they came out with this story.
Develop a nuclear space weapon that would use effectively the byproduct of a nuclear explosion to try to disable and destroy satellites in space. The idea here, according to the sources, is not to use the explosion itself, which is how we traditionally think of a nuclear weapon or a nuke. Instead, the explosion produces an electromagnetic pulse, an incredibly powerful wave of energy that essentially fries the insides of satellites and renders them ineffective. Now, crucially, this is not a system that's operational yet. It's still in development. The White House and the Biden administration said that earlier this week, and President Joe Biden himself said on Friday that there is no threat or any sort of nuclear threat to the United States at this time. But this is clearly something the U.S. is watching, and here's why. Critical satellites for the U.S., including many military satellites, are built to defend against these sort of electromagnetic pulse waves and be able to withstand these waves. But an explosion like this in space would affect a lot of commercial satellites and disrupt not only U.S. satellites, but Russian satellites, Chinese, and so many others. And those satellites are used for a number of different reasons, including communications, cell phone services, internet, and so much more. It would effectively disrupt, or could disrupt, all of that if it were used. Not to mention it would be a violation of the Outer Space Treaty of the late 60s, which prohibits the use of nuclear weapons in space. And that's why the administration is watching this so carefully, because of the threat and the risks such an explosion would have. Russia would only likely use it, the officials say, or the sources say, as a last-ditch effort, because it's indiscriminate. It doesn't just affect U.S. satellites, it affects any satellite that's near it and could potentially render a large number of satellites ineffective. Still, it is a capability that the U.S. is watching very closely as Russia presses forward with this program. Oren Lieberman, CNN at the Pentagon.
All right, sorry guys, but my computer and everything got slow again. I hope it doesn't go offline. But I wanted to retort during that entire video and laugh and debunk everything he's saying, but my computer started to freeze while playing that video. But first off, CNN. CNN is BS. Don't trust anything they say. And then he basically described an EMP. He said it's a nuclear space weapon that can give an EMP pulse. Okay, let's think about that real quickly. So is it a nuclear weapon? Are EMPs nuclear? Huh? You just described 3 weapons. But people might say, well, the EMP pulse is the beginning of an actual nuclear explosion, because you got the radio waves and the radiation and whatever. But this is insane. They're saying Russia has is developing the capability. Why would you warn us that they're developing it? How are we going to stop it? How are we going to stop it? Oh, they're developing it. We finally wanted to let the American public know, that there's a potential Russian weapon out there, nuclear, that causes an EMP. There's a potential. We want to let the American people know. That's how good we think of you. We want to let you know there's a possible attack that could happen in the future. There's a potential of it. So when it does happen, whether we did it or not, it was Russia. Okay. And they said the Chinese don't have it. It could affect also the Chinese satellites. It could affect the whatever satellites from any culture or nation that are up there. Again, there's none. It's my opinion. Well, if Russia is developing it, China already has it. America already has it. It's just propaganda. Sorry, guys. When I was trying to do my show earlier, I had so many good jokes for today's show. But then again, I had internet problems and my brain went elsewhere. And I'm really tired. So I wanted to be more entertaining. So forgive me, guys. But boy, I had a lot of funny stuff to say about all this stuff. But that is some ridiculous stuff, guys. All right, let's get into the Midnight Owl interview, guys. Many of you members have already watched it. She's a Goth culture expert. But let's watch about 35 minutes of it. If you want to watch the exclusive version, the full 2-hour version of this very interesting conversation, guys, I promise you it is. I know we've had 3 girls in a row, but they're all beautiful. They're all fun and interesting to get to know of. And if you want to watch the full version, it is available for members only. But if you guys want to watch some more segments coming up, come back. If you've already seen the Midnight Owl interview, come back in about 35, 40 minutes. And then we're going to talk about the moon landing that just happened. And we're going to talk about some pop culture latest news on today's Happy Alien podcast. Thank you guys for being here. And stick around. We got more show coming up. But enjoy a little bit of this interview with the Midnight Owl. It's a pretty good time with a third beautiful woman in a row. But more importantly, will she be my wife? at the end of this? That is the question on everybody's mind for today's episode. But that being said, I just want to let everybody know this is a judgment-free show. People want me to say gotcha moments against the guest and stuff like that per their opinions or their career choices or whatever they're into. That's not what this show is about. This show is a no judgment-free zone where I just want to get to know people and talk and find out what makes them tick. Because truthfully, I believe we're all aliens of some sort. Now, that being said, let's introduce today's guest. Her name is Midnight Owl. She has the monikers on her Instagram that she is a YouTuber, a lime slayer. I don't know what a lime slayer is. We got to talk about that. She's a metalhead. Rock on. I love some 80s metalheads. She's a gothic dreamer. That is pretty interesting. She's a model. That's how I fell in love with her. She's also a guitarist, a soap maker, and we all need to be clean. So I got to get some soap. She's a gamer. And basically, I'm calling her the goth culture expert. Everybody, please welcome into today's show, the Midnight Owl herself. Hello.
Hi. Good to see you.
Introduce yourself to everybody.
Hi. So I'm Midnight Owl. That's my YouTube name. What I usually use on Instagram and TikTok, but in real life, my name is Adriana. And yeah, I just like talking with people, meeting new people, talking about music and like culture and art and everything. So yeah.
That's pretty awesome. So I called yourself a goth culture expert because I like that moniker. It sounds good. But would you say that's what you are?
I wouldn't say I'm a goth subculture expert, like by any means, but I do live like a gothic lifestyle in the fact that I like goth music. I like, darkly inclined things like wearing all black or like skulls and vampires and stuff like that. Gothic literature like Edgar Allan Poe, just like the different style of clothing and makeup and stuff. Like I do my makeup quite extreme, as you can see. So yeah, I'm into all those types of things. But as far as like the goth subculture, that's like a lot. So I don't think a lot of people know, but that aren't in it, you know what I mean? But there's goth and then there's gothic. So it's two different things, believe it or not. So goth is basically anybody that listens to goth music. That's like literally it. Like you can dress however you want, has nothing to do with like your appearance or like any other thing you're interested in, just that you listen to goth music. Now gothic is somebody more like me who's into not only the music, but the style and like the literature and like the aesthetic and everything like that. So that's the two differences.
Well, we had a guest on last week's podcast, and she's a paranormal expert, but she's also gothic as well. And during the episode, I asked if she's a witch, and she literally said yes. And I'm kind of the type of person that like, I don't really want to associate with witches because I grew up a little bit religious and so on and so forth. But like, would you consider yourself in any aspect a witch as well with all the symbolism and the culture that you're experiencing in your life?
So I did watch some of the podcasts that you did with the person previously, and I saw like she's into like divination and stuff like that. But myself, so as far as like being in like the gothic community, it's like so open. There's like people that are religious, like, Catholics. There's people who are atheists or like, Satanists or whatever. It's like, it's literally everything. Like this like community is accepting of everybody. So for me, I grew up religious as well. I'm not into like Ouija boards or tarot cards or anything like that. So I don't stick to any one particular religion, but I do believe in God. So I think, and that's like we have like, I think Gothic people have like a stigma, like, oh my God, you're a, everybody's a Satanist or everybody's a witch or whatever. And it's not. Everybody's completely different. So yeah. So I don't consider my witch like at all, but I mean, I do believe in God, but I like to dress up like, witchy. If I go out or something, sometimes we're like, I have a witch hat, I'll wear a witch hat, but it's just for fun. You know what I mean?
That was a beautiful statement that you said, that we could all be religious as well and into God. And because they want to call me crazy. I'm a conspiracist. I got an overactive brain. I like to place puzzle pieces together, whether something is real or fake or manipulated. They call me, oh, he's a right-wing conspiracy theorist. And they make me look wild and crazy. But I want to let everybody know, per your statement, that I'll be honest with you. People that become conspiracy theorists, that road, once typically they call it being awakened, they hit spirituality and they hit religion at the end of that road, because everything is a lie. And then their anger at everybody, they're negative about the world, and they want to show everybody the truth, and they want to prove everybody is a liar or wrong, and it's all evil. It's all evil. So we end up going down the religious path and the spiritual path again, because we're seeking love in our hearts. We're not seeking conspiracies. We're not seeking to, hurt or injure people. We're just seeking the truth. So the conspiracy people, in my opinion, we go down the spiritual road while we take that road or that journey. So it was very interesting for you to say that there's a lot of people into this culture, and we have an idea of it as satanic or as of devil worship, because that's kind of how I feel. And I don't know whether it's my old age or not, but I'm starting to like fall in love with the style. You know what I mean? But I don't know if I like the culture or the symbolism or anything, but like, you're a gorgeous woman to me. I love all the hair, the outfits. I might not agree with the symbolism or whatever you got, but I'm like I said, maybe it's old age, but I'm starting to fall in love, and I'm like, wow, am I going down a dark path? It's just pretty interesting. But thank you for that statement. So, let's get into a loaded question.
Okay.
What is the Goth lifestyle like from your perspective? Because you said you live the Goth lifestyle.
Okay, so I mean, this is like my definition of it. My life is basically like, one of the most important things to me is music. Like, I love music, like listening to music, going to concerts. I play guitar. I try to sing sometimes. And I like decorate my home with like a certain aesthetic. Like, I like the dark things. Like, you can't really see all my stuff, but like, I have like the gargoyles and the skulls and like the candles and stuff like that. Like, a lot of my furniture is black and stuff like that. And I think that how I was saying before, it has nothing to do with like, for me, it has nothing to do with like, oh, you have to be into witchcraft or like Satanism or anything like that. For me, it's mostly about, I just like the look of it. I like, like certain movies, like dark movies, like the Dracula movies and stuff like that. A certain style, like I dye my hair like part red, part black, and just interacting with other people who are into the same things that I am, like, discussing music with people, or like fashion and makeup and things like that. Like, that's what I talk about a lot on my YouTube channel, or just even visiting cool places. Like, I've always just had a fascination with cemeteries. I just think they're beautiful. Some people think it's morbid, but for me, it's not. I feel like, oh, it's a nice place just to go walk around. They have beautiful architecture there sometimes, do photography and stuff. So for me, like, that's what it means to basically live like a Gothic lifestyle.
Yeah, another interesting fact that you brought up just now was, like, you mentioned you're into cemeteries and architecture. Well, again, everything is built nowadays like a box. And there's buildings from supposedly only, thousands of years ago, but they were built, and you can't even build these buildings with today's equipment. Like every building now is a box, you know, like in a matrix, like a cubicle, like you're in a video game. And cemeteries, you're right, it's got a beautiful aesthetic, and it's really interesting. And then when you said macabre, or I said it, I started thinking about Elvira. Do you remember a lady named Elvira?
Oh my God, I love Elvira, like her movies, and she has like she did like so much in her life and her career and stuff. I went to one of those like horror cons and I met her, I got my picture taken with her. She's just like an amazing person. I love her. But she was just like everybody loved, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, like all the guys like, oh my, even then, you know, everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's so hot, like she's beautiful, and she had the dark look about her. And it's just like people were, you know, just gravitated towards her. And like, even like, you know, people who are like normal looking, like not into like the goth at all, like we're just like, oh my God, she's so hot, Elvira, you know?
I think that's one of the other reasons when I found you, whether I forgot where we connected or I saw you first, might have been on Instagram, but like you remind me of her a lot. And that was like one of my shows growing up. So I didn't have a mother growing up, like literally. So the TV was my mother, basically. So I guess the image of like Elvira and all that, it's just nowadays, it's like bringing me back to the nostalgia. And that's one of the probably the reasons I'm like, oh, I love her. Let me talk to her. Let me find out what she's about. Are you a family person? I mean, you don't have to reveal anything, but do you have a family? Are you married and still living that lifestyle as well?
So I have a son. He's 6 years old. I think I told you about him before.
Yeah, it was meant for the audience, but yes, thank you.
Yeah. So I was previously married. I'm not married anymore, but so it's basically me and my son, and but I am like big into family. You know what I mean? Like my background is Italian, and my father came here from Italy when he was a teenager and settled here. Yeah, so we're, you know, Italians are just huge into family. So I literally see my family probably like my parents once a week. And I have a sister, like an older sister. I have a niece, and I see them all the time too. So we're very like family orientated. They like, I mean, my family is like, you know, my world.
Are they good with, I guess, your style choices or this lifestyle, or does anybody have an issue with it? What about your neighbors? Like, do you walk out every day and play with your son, and then people are like, oh, there she is?
So when I was growing up, you know, I was a teenager living at home with my parents. My parents were just like, oh my God, like what? Like, what is happening? They would be like, what are you wearing? Like, they would never tell me no. They would never say like, you can't wear that or you can't dress that way, you know. But my father would literally call me Elvira, and I would have because I had these huge black like combat boots that I would wear, and he would sometimes call me Frankenstein, because remember like Frankenstein's monster had like the huge
yeah.
So he used to call me Frankenstein, and but they would let me go out. Like I went to concerts and I went to goth clubs and stuff like that. They let me go. They never made me feel bad about my choices or how I wanted to dress, but they kind of just joke. You know what I mean? Joke with me about it. I mean, to this day, my father will be like, what are you doing with your hair? He's like, why don't you just dye your hair brown?
What are you doing with your hair?
Yeah,
Come on,
exactly.
let's eat some chicken cutlets, babe. Come on, you're my Italian daughter. Come on.
But for the most part, they've accepted it, and they know like this is me. Same thing. Like, and I'm really close with my cousins, like my first cousins, because I have a ton of them. And like the same thing, you know, like growing up, it was just like, what's wrong with you? Why do you have tattoos? But now it's just like, oh, there's Adriana, like, okay, she's wearing that. Okay, that's normal for her, pretty much. But when I go out with my son, honestly, like, so I only dress like this or look like this maybe like 30% of the time, because
yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
20% I'm just lazy, and I'm like, I'm not doing my hair, I'm not putting on this makeup.
It costs a lot of money, like too, for all the makeup. Maybe you have wigs every once in a while, and the hairdo and the clothing and the hair dye. Oh my God.
Yeah, so it's like when I go out with my son, I literally have sweatpants on, you know. It'd be like, oh, can we go to a trampoline park? And there's me with like a baseball hat on and like sweatpants or whatever. So I don't really get judged. once in a while when I've been out, when me and him go out and I'm dressed up, because he's been in some of my YouTube videos, so we'll do like vlogging and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody says anything. I think nowadays it's like so accepted that people look different, have different styles.
Correct.
It's much different from when I was growing up. You know what I mean? When I was younger. So I think I'm the same age as you. I'm 40. I just turned 44. Happy birthday, belated birthday to you.
You don't have to tell the world that you look like 28.
Yeah, I just had a birthday, so I'm just like, but I know we both are February babies, so.
Happy birthday. We're both Aquariuses, and Aquarius is the mood of the water. I got to look into Aquarius because we're apparently in the actual age of Aquarius right now. As I was talking to Sarah, or what was, she got a long name, Mistress of the Parrot, like, I don't know. 2 words, alien number 3. That's what we are. Do you remember the actual age of when you realized that you maybe might go official, gothic, or goth? I'm sorry, again, I don't understand the true nature of it, but do you have an age frame where you're like, this is my enjoyment, this is my lifestyle, or did it gradually go on?
Yeah, so I remember when I was in middle school. Well, I called it middle school. It was like grades, what was it, like 1 through 5 or something like that. And I was about like 13 years old. And there were people in school that listened to metal, like Metallica. And I was
we had cliques. We had cliques in school. Like there would be an area, of course, of the jocks. I was hanging out with the actor kids in that type of area. Then, we had the different races, the Asian, the black, the Italian, but we also had an area, and I didn't know if they were goth, like in middle school. I called them the Cure. I was like, oh, those are the Cure kids. They're into Morrissey. They're into groups like that, the little bit of eyebrows, and they come out like Adamant. Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do? I don't. But they were not called goth to me until I saw it in movies. About 8 years later, I started realizing that was what they were called. So, is that how it started? Were you into the Cure, the Smiths? Or?
No, so for me it was metal at first. I looked was in, like I said, Metallica and like Pantera and stuff like that. Because these kids that were in my class, I'm like, what is this music? I'm like, this is really good. I like it. Like this is totally, because I was listening to pop music on the radio, like Debbie Gibson and New Kids on the Block. You know what I mean?
There you go.
My first concert was New Kids on the Block. Don't tell anybody. But
mine was Milli Vanilli.
Oh, I love them. I
went the night they got caught for lip syncing. I went that actual night at the Universal Amphitheater. It was Young MC, Bust a Move, and it was Milli Vanilli, and we had tickets because they were on an international. I'm sorry, I'm giving my own story, and I cut you off. We'll get back to you, I promise. Okay. But I get so excited because nowadays lip syncing is accepted pretty much. But Milli Vanilli and Young MC were the guests, and they were on a world tour. Then all of a sudden they came to LA at the Universal Amphitheater. Now all the news reporters, because the song Blame It on the Rain and everything else went viral or whatever. So now they got on stage, and now all eyes were on them in LA or in Hollywood. Then around that time, an article in a magazine came out, and then that's why everybody was watching them. And then they realized they lip sync on that performance because they caught them and they filmed them. And then it became even more viral with that article that was written. So I was a part of Milli Vanilli history.
I loved them. And I literally, probably maybe 5 years ago, I went and bought the CD again.
Do you know what's the name of the album? I can't even think of it. Is it Blame It on the Rain? It might be.
That might be it. I can't remember, but
Girl, you know it's true. Ooh, Midnight Owl, I love you.
Yeah, so that was where I started, and like I said, I still listen to that stuff to this day. But it wasn't until first it was like the metal thing, and then
taking my friends, taking my soul, Metallica, one, taking my breath. I remember Metallica, but then they sued Napster, and I got pissed off because I was a computer geek and I was still in music, and I was like, "Come on, Metallica."
Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, rarely like you have like millions of dollars. Like you don't need you don't need any more.
That
Um,
just proved they were in the system and they
yeah.
were about the system. And one quick little joke about that. You remember a group called Rage Against the Machine?
Hmm.
Well, they were called Rage Against the Machine for a reason.
Hmm.
And then I used to go to their concerts and they, I forgot the names of the songs, I can't even think of what. Oh, F you, I won't do what you tell
Yes,
me.
yes.
I used to go to alternative concerts and all that in the 90s. But nowadays, a few years back, they made a COVID jab commercial. Hey, everybody, we're Rage Against the Machine. Go take the jab. Wait a
Oh,
second.
oh my.
Are you raging for the machine?
I didn't know that. Like I
Yeah,
never saw that. I never saw that
they
in
have a
that
whole
show.
PSA, that they got paid for,
That's pretty
telling
sad.
everybody to take the jab. I can't even say it on YouTube. So I am
But yeah.
blown. Okay, but back to the metal bands, man. Let's go. 80s hair metal. I love it.
Okay, so that was okay. So that was that in the beginning when I was like around 14. So then at 16, I started dating this guy, and he introduced me to the goth music and the goth clubs and the goth scene. And I was like, oh, I was like, what is this? This is like a different level. You know what I mean? And that's how I really started getting into that. But I kind of like go all over the place because my music taste is so wide. Like you said, like the 80s hair metal. Like I love that stuff. That's like some of my favorite music. I still go to the concerts to this day, like the bands that still play out. Like the 80s bands, because they still do. Like Motley Crue is still doing shows, and Poison and Rat and all of them. So yeah,
Every rose has its thorn. Yes, it
yeah.
does.
So I still love that stuff, and I like all. For me, I like all different types of music. So it's not just I don't stick to one thing. But as far as getting into the goth stuff, it was when I was like 16. I started dating this guy, and I was like, oh my god, the goth seems so cool. Like I want to dress in all black and look like a vampire. So that's really how I got into it.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you're a bird of all feathers. You're a peacock that you have many different colors to your personality and your spirit. And again, I typically think that I'm drawn to people like that. Whether on the outset I have a notion that they're a witch or they're into satanic symbolism or whatever, I typically am drawn to like good-hearted, colored people. That sounded really bad. I meant like peacock with your soul.
Hmm.
You have
Hmm.
multiple colors to you that you can be anything at any given moment without any judgment or disrespect toward another person. And you seem very, very open. So that is one of the reasons why I'm enjoying this podcast is because I get to learn and overcome some of my issues. So that brings me into a topic of um, were you religious at all yourself growing up? And what do you think of the symbolism in the goth culture? Do you think it's of a good nature or a bad nature? Because we just had like a lot of musicians nowadays, a lot of the rap artists, or they call them the drug rappers, they got like really some, I don't know if I call it gothic symbolism, but satanic. And they look like they might be rituals of some sort. Do you have a view on any of that stuff? Do you think
So
it's
I,
happening?
so I know what you're talking about, like the symbolism and stuff like that. That's more, I think, like the satanic aspect of it, or I think I don't even know. I don't even know what you can say like on YouTube anymore. But like, but for me growing up, I like I said, I was my family was religious growing up, so I grew up, believing in God. I still do to this day. I mean, I don't go to church or anything like that, but I still pray. I have like a book of like Bible stories I read to my son. I just feel like it's good morals to have, or just like a basis of being a good person. You know what I mean? And that's not to judge anybody that's any other type of religion. It's just doing what I feel is good for me and for my son. So as far as like the symbolism and stuff, like now, like in entertainment, I know what you're talking about. Um, I try not to pay too much attention to that type of stuff because I just feel like stuff is right now sometimes just so whacked out that I'm just like, I can't deal with this. Like, I can't comprehend it. Like, it just makes no sense to me. All that stuff that's going on. But the Gothic stuff, like I mean, it's more so in, like, say, in fashion and stuff. Like, there's a clothing brand. It's called Killstar, and it's a Gothic clothing brand. They're really well known, and I buy stuff from them. But they'll have stuff with, like, pentagrams on it, or like upside down crosses and stuff. And I tend to avoid that stuff just because that's not me and it's not for me. Yes, I have gotten a couple outfits where I didn't realize, I'm like, oh, there's an upside down cross on it, and I'm just like a little one or whatever. You can't really say, I mean, whatever, like, because I know in my heart that, like, I don't believe in that stuff, because I do believe in God, and I don't feel like, okay, I just wore this. I'm not like, I'm not damned or anything like that, So I think that's okay. But they like the Gothic, clothing brands tend to use a lot of, like, the symbols, the satanic symbols. I think to draw in people to be like, oh, that's cool. Like, younger people like, oh, that looks really cool. It has like a satanic symbol on it. Like, I want to buy it, but I don't take it too seriously as far as clothing. And what you were saying about like mostly, like, I think it's like with like pop stuff or whatever. Like, I've heard stuff with, like, I don't know, like conspiracy stuff with like Rihanna and stuff like that. Like, I don't really pay attention.
I like that stuff. That's who I am.
Yeah, like, I don't really pay attention too much to that stuff. I don't really know too much about it. That's why I was like, I wanted to know, like, what conspiracy stuff that do you believe in, or do you think that's like, okay, like, what's going on here?
All right, we'll save that for a few more minutes from now.
Okay.
Thank you very much for asking me. I appreciate you. But you're definitely like Goth, and let's call Satanism, whatever. It's becoming main pop culture. Like, it literally is. Whether they call them the elites, the government, the this, the that, the musicians, the record labels. It's a point to make money. So they want to brainwash everybody with this stuff to make money. But then on top of that, like, since you said you are, or you grew up religious, do you believe we're actually in a war, like a holy war? If God exists, if the devil exists, if, the spirits, the angels, the Nephilim, whatever you call it, like, are we in a war? And, for mankind, it's just an interesting thought. Do you think we're at a holy war for mankind?
I think the war's been going on, like, since the beginning,
Forever.
Yeah, and I mean, I do believe, because there's a lot of people, like, oh, do you believe? Like, I have people in my life. It's like, oh, they're like, there's no such thing as God, like, and they're not people that are even like, Satanists or atheists. Really, they're just like I think a lot of people just are not religious nowadays for some reason, and they're just like, oh, there's no such thing as God. There's no such thing as the devil. There's no such thing as demons or ghosts or anything like that. Whereas, like, I believe in all that stuff.
Yeah.
Because so growing up, when I was like really young, my mother used to do tarot cards, and just for like the heck of it. Like, she didn't do it as a profession or anything.
It's a death card.
Yeah. She used to do tarot cards, and like, she would tell me these stories that, like, the things that she would do, like, because I believe that stuff is manipulated by, like, demonic, like, presence or something. Like, I don't think it's anything good. And she would say, like, she would do these readings, and she said they would come true. And then she said, because she was doing it in the house and stuff like that, that she said she would see ghosts in our house, but, like, evil, like, spirits and stuff. And, like, some people think that, like, like, oh, that's a bunch of, like, that your mother was crazy. Like, that's not true. You know what I mean? But my mother would never lie to me or my sister growing up. So I believe her when she said she saw things. And that's why, for me now, I hate that stuff. Like, I don't want anything to do with tarot cards. I don't want anything to do with Ouija boards. Like, I don't want to bring any kind of evil presence, like, into my home, like, whatsoever. So I basically stay away from all that stuff.
Yeah, you were talking about tarot cards, and to bring it back to you were asking me about conspiracies. Have you ever heard of the Illuminati?
That's what I was going to say, and I was like, I don't know what I can say on.
Yeah, I mean, you can say it. Every one of my episodes has been censored.
Yeah.
So the only type of income that I'm actually able to make is through donations or whatever. But they had an Illuminati card game that came out, I think, in the middle or the late 80s. Might have been like 86, 87, 88. It was called the Illuminati card game. And it had like maybe 50 or 60 cards. And each card had like a painting or a picture of an event or something. And, you know, they had different names. There's like the Trump card, the NASA card. And a lot of these cards, now, many years later, we look at events and we look at the pictures in the card deck for the Illuminati card game, and all of these events happened. They literally happened. So when they say the Illuminati or the people that maybe aliens or whoever's controlling the world, they can see the future or they manipulate it to what they want. So therefore, these images of the card game that came out 20, 30, 40 years ago, the future is being shown to us, whether it be in TV and movies and card games. So that kind of makes me tend to believe that somebody is in control and making all this stuff happen, you know, and then they have meetings. That's a big story for another day, but I just didn't know if you knew about the Illuminati card game because we were talking about tarot cards.
I've never heard of that before. I want to look into it now. I'm like super interested in like reading about it and seeing what you're talking about.
It's pretty interesting. There's a photo with the two towers exploding and a plane in it, and the card game came out in like 1988 or something like that. And you got to think, it's like The Simpsons. The Simpsons predicts everything. Shows like Family Guy. There's a lot of these events that happen in the real world. They were on TV shows being predicted like, you know, years earlier. It's just really, really interesting.
That's nuts.
Yeah. That's why everything nowadays scares me, man. I'm afraid. I don't know what's real or fake. I don't know if we live in the Matrix. That's why I question everything. All right, let me get this banner for you because I had a couple of questions that I definitely wanted to get to. I made a video a while back about Gothic Instagram models, and it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because, like, I'm in touch with, you know, some beautiful women like yourself that are in the Gothic world, the Gothic fashion world. But I made a comment because one of these persons is like a Gothic Instagram B-movie horror scream star or whatever. But these Gothic models, again, albeit they're beautiful, they sell sex a lot. They sell sexual activity, this and that. But on top of that, and I can't say it, but they have like pictures of needles going in their arms or knives at their throat or blood dripping from their eyes. And then they're pretty much butt naked. Oh, come take me, Gothic prince, you know, or something. But they're like half naked and everybody's, oh, you're so beautiful. Like they're representing blood and death to me. And that boggles my mind because I don't want to die. Like, so I don't understand how sometimes in the Gothic world or the modeling Gothic world that they celebrate sexuality because that'll get everybody interested. Then on top of that, it's DEATH and all that other stuff. And then just to round it out before I ask you the question, the reason why I had this image in my head, it was during COVID, the jab time, and one of these Gothic models, actresses, artists would always promote pictures of DEATH and BLOOD, and I was like, man, you know, like, what are you doing? But hey, I'm not going to judge her. That's not me. I don't like it. I don't have to look at it. But she made a post where she had doctors putting syringes into her arm and her neck. And then there was like a couple of people with knives and there was BLOD all around. And then she said, the disease gets me. And she was happy about it in that post. So that means she was looking for DEATH from needles and a disease, maybe a virus. You know, that was the whole aesthetic of that imagery. But then she was doing a convention, because she's an artist. She was doing a convention, and then she made a post, and she goes, if you're coming to get an autograph or a picture with me, you have to bring and prove you're jabbed or vaccinated by the company. And then she goes, because I don't want my child is going to be with me, or I don't want to go home and get any disease and possibly injure or kill or hurt my child or myself. So you guys all have to prove you're jabbed and everything to me. Not only the people at the convention, to me when you come in my line. She goes, I don't want a DIE. Well, 2 months ago, you posted a picture where you want a DIE by the virus and the jabs. So I went off on her because she's a friend of mine.
Oh, really?
She's an actress friend of mine. She was on Roseanne. Why am I blanking on her name right now? Danielle something. She was in the Jason movies. No, the Michael Myers movies. She was the little girl actress in the Michael Myers. Her name is Danielle something. Mm-hmm. You might know her. I don't know. But I went off on her, dude, like in a direct message. I was like, wow, you hypocritical. You're selling it. And then you're telling people that you don't want to DI. I'm like, what are you? Like, what is this? Well, she didn't like that too much, bro. Yeah. I just thought it was an interesting story. So it makes me a little bit mad at Gothic models or Instagram models. What are your thoughts on that type of culture? Meaning selling, possibly dismemberment, but being naked as well to everybody. I don't know. Like, just give me your thoughts. Sorry, I talked too long.
That's all right. So I don't think it's necessarily, it's like Gothic, like the Gothic models are doing this. I think it's just certain people, like her, were doing something like that. And I think a lot of it's for shock value to get attention. I don't think it's like you said, it was like she was doing one thing. And then when she was at the signing, she was like, oh no, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's basically, it's fake for getting that type of attention. I'm not into that stuff. I'm more of like the, like the vampire type look, a Victorian type look. I'm not really into like the BLOOD and like all that stuff. Like that's just never really been my thing. I mean, I like Dracula, like that whole aspect is cool, but like the whole gore and stuff like that, yeah, I'm not into that. But like I do like horror movies for entertainment, but not for real life, Like I don't want any of that stuff happening to me in real life. But I think that there's certain types of models. There's ones that are just dress more elegantly, like in the dark Gothic aesthetic. And there's ones that you're talking about. I think it's just for basically like I think for shock value. And a lot, it's like musicians do that too, for shock value. They'll have,
but they're also, ooh, forgive me. They're also idolized, and that's what scares me. Is because I don't want to idolize DEATH or any of stuff like that. But when they get sexual or they show me their skin, because I'm a horny man, I'm like, oh. But then it's like the brainwashing of all that other stuff, and it just kind of freaks me out, like. Don't believe in false idols, they say. Don't believe in false idols.
I like, for even me too, like, when I do post like pictures on Instagram and stuff, like I like to be like a little bit sexy and like show a little bit of skin.
I know. Trust me, I know. Late at night, you don't know what I'm doing.
It's what I'm comfortable with, you know what I mean? Because there's nothing wrong with that if you're comfortable in your skin. So like want to like, because more from people, it's like an artistic look, you know what I mean? And
do you want to be popular with all the YouTube and everything that you do? Like, do you actually want fame, or you just like making the content and sharing your world? Like, how do you feel about it?
For me, it's because I like doing it. So when I was younger, I had a friend who was it was my boyfriend's father, who was a photographer, and he would teach me about photography. And he had like a dark room, and we used to like develop film and stuff like that. And he used to help me a lot. I was so into photography, and I used to like when I would go out to. I had a video camera. Remember the big shoulder ones with like the VHS tapes?
Yeah.
Like I had those. Like I was into like video and like photography and everything. I took a photography class, so I was really into it, and I started doing modeling, myself. I did modeling for like Goth magazines, and I was in like a couple issues and stuff like that. I just like the artistic value of it, and with like Instagram and like YouTube and all that stuff, it's more I like meeting people. I like, I have people that I'm friends with from like literally around the world, like different countries and stuff, because it's so hard I'm in Massachusetts, just to meet somebody like locally, to be like, most of my friends are online friends.
You're an Italian in Boston.
Yeah.
I don't know what accent I should do. You forget about it, or how about these apples?
But I just like meeting new people and and sharing my life with people and the things that I like, the music and like architecture. Like I like to like vlog different places, like go to different countries and see like castles and cool like scenery and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a dream of mine too. But I ain't got the money. I ain't got the health. I ain't got the money.
Yeah, it's expensive, and so I think that's why I mostly got into YouTube and like posting and stuff. Was just to meet people and show off like my artistic side and discuss.
Do you try to supplement? Do you try to supplement, again, if these are too personal, let me know. But do you try to supplement your income through like YouTube or whatever, just to add a few bucks to your bottom line?
Oh yeah, for sure. I do try, but it's like, it's hard because
so hard.
Being a smaller channel, you don't really get that type of recognition. And a lot of the times, I'll get like brands reach out to me. They're like, oh, we'll send you some of our products to review.
I get that too, but it's like, I never heard of this product. And then they want me to click on a link and they're like, oh, we're going to send you this battery from Japan. Huh? I don't need a battery from Japan. And then until the money's in my bank account, like, yeah, I ain't going to do it.
Yeah, so they said, they'll be like, oh, we want you to promote our product. I'm like, well, what am I getting out of it? Like a free pair of like, like pantyhose? Like, I don't really care about that. You need to be paid for your time doing YouTube. And I think that like a lot of people just like don't get that. Like a lot of those companies just don't understand.
It's hard to defeat the algorithm. It really, really is. Mm-hmm. But since you did admit that you try to, supplement some income, this is going to be a loaded question. Again, you do not have to answer it, but a lot of people make money on OnlyFans, and you're a beautiful girl. And today's culture, being a corn star or something like that is actually wanted by the... Oh, no. Right when we got into the most popular subject, where I was going to ask her, is she on OnlyFans? We had to cut it off there. If you guys want to watch the full version of the Midnight Owl, if you want to watch the full, complete 2-hour, uncensored, explicit content version, it is available for members only. It's $2 to become a member, so consider becoming a member, and you'll get exclusive content like that. And I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Midnight Owl, because it gets even better and saucier the more it goes along. That being said, we are now officially starting our third hour, or second hour, past 2 hours, of the show. And I told you guys I was going to be back, and we were going to talk about some other stuff that's happening in the world today. So here we go. We got Ezra online. Born Mush might still be there. Upstate Raider. And for the people that are back now, we're going to talk about, there was a moon landing the other day. That's right. There was a moon landing the other day. Well, apparently, a couple of months back, India landed on the moon. But now a company, a privately owned, public company, with NASA landed on the moon. So let's watch this report and let's debunk this nonsense, because we all know none of this is real. I mean, most of us do. Maybe you don't, but I do, because I see the truth. Hit me up in that chat room. Let me know who's still online, who's still watching. I appreciate you. Let's watch this report on the latest moon landing. And did you watch the Indian moon landing a month or two ago? That's right. India landed on the moon, and it looked like CGI. Well, let's watch this moon landing, and let's find out the details of Odyssey, or Odysseus, or whatever from Intuitive Machines. Let's watch this. This is insane. I gotta make sure we're still online. Ain't nobody talking in the chat room. I hope we're still online. All right, well, let's just do it. Let's watch this report on Odysseus, where they landed on the moon. Okay, thank you, Jack. Thank you, AG. Thank you, Jimmy Bennett. All right, let's watch this report. This is wild.
Success.
Welcome to the moon.
Intuitive Machines is the first private company to land on the moon.
Private.
Odysseus has found his new home.
And the first U.S.-made lander to touch down on the lunar surface
Look
in
at the
more than
graphics.
50 years.
What a triumph.
Tonight, we're eagerly awaiting those first pictures. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Lisa Bell. Ginger is on assignment tonight. The Nova Sea lander touched down on the moon at 6:23 tonight, and we have team coverage of this historic moment.
6:23.
News 6's Treasure Roberts
Two
is in
threes and
Daytona
three
Beach, where
sixes.
Embry-Riddle students celebrated because they designed an important piece of tech for the lander.
But we're going to begin with Troy Campbell for the latest on some technical issues during the
Oh, they had
landing.
technical
Troy, we
issues.
got to know, where are those
did too.
pictures? Because we know the rule of Instagram.
On my
If there are no
podcast.
pictures, it doesn't exist.
There's
Well,
no
Matt,
pictures.
late word tonight from Intuitive Machines. They're working on downlinking those first images right now. But they did just confirm that Odysseus landed upright, and
It
is
landed.
now starting to send
No
back.
pictures.
What we can confirm, without a doubt, is our equipment is on the surface of the moon.
We can
and we are
confirm that.
transmitting. So, congratulations, IM team. We'll see how much more we can get from that.
Odysseus has landed, an
Yay!
American-built craft on the surface of the moon for the first time since 1972.
An excellent call from our mission director, Dr. Tim Crane.
But before the landing, millions tuning in to a live broadcast, keeping up with its every move.
For folks at home, we are listening in to the live channel there.
That's right. A lot's happening in Nova Control. We're going to be hearing these status calls periodically as we follow the flight control teams
But no
that
video.
are monitoring Nova
None
Sea's descent
whatsoever.
towards the lunar surface.
None.
A lot's happening, Josh.
The private spacecraft making history as it plummeted 18 miles as part of its 10-minute engine burn.
Confirm that looked like a pitch over gimbal.
Then, nothing for about 10 minutes. Engineers looking visibly flustered while glued to their screens.
We're not dead yet.
Val. We're also not dead yet.
Then they start using ground satellites from around the world to detect a signal.
Data!
Finally, a scanner in the United Kingdom.
Only
We have a
data.
signal from our high-gain antenna and transmitter. It's faint, but it's there.
It's faint,
So,
but it's there.
stand by, folks. We'll see what's happening here.
Moments later, NASA Administrator and longtime Florida Senator Bill Nelson congratulating the mission that began on the Space Coast.
From the launch pad at the Kennedy Space Center to the target of the south pole of the moon.
They got a South Pole on the moon?
Again, those images might take a while. They are traveling 250,000 miles. Of course, all the NASA experiments on board will help accomplish their larger mission of colonizing the moon. Matt?
Waiting time. Troy Campbell, thank you. All that waiting certainly causing some anxiety at Embry-Riddle. Their Eagle Camp took the pictures everyone is hoping to see. Our team coverage continues with News 6's Treasure Roberts in Daytona Beach.
Huh?
We can confirm, without a doubt,
We confirmed touchdown on the moon's surface.
and we are
So, congratulations on your
We're transmitting.
A day that'll go down in history.
Today, for the first time in more than a half century, the U.S. has returned to the moon.
The U.S.
Today, for the first time.
And Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University students had a hand in the successful mission.
So we got the confirmation that all of the hardware is on the moon. Everybody's jumping up and down and clapping and really.
We got the confirmation that all of the hardware is on the moon. We got the confirmation through data. No pictures. It's faint, but we got the confirmation through NASA and all these other people that are above us. We got the confirmation.
More than 200 students came to an EagleCam watch party Thursday. One of them was Aiden Fogelman, who said it was surreal to watch everything unfold.
I'm ecstatic. You could say I'm over the moon.
You didn't watch anything. Nothing happened. It's data. It's like a video game. You guys are reading numbers on screen. You're getting confirmations from NASA and other people. We're there. We landed. We landed. We landed. I promise you we landed. You know, but there was a technical glitch with the video or the pictures to be sent back. The radar waves, there's nothing wrong with the radio waves, but there's a technical glitch with any of the video, and they're working on it. But they landed. Isn't that the same excuse for the moon landing? The moon landing had to be put on a projector, and it had to be replayed to us, and they had to make CGI graphics to show us what it looks like to land on the moon. But with today's technology, we somehow bypassed the radiation waves, the belt, everything else. We've never apparently been out of low Earth orbit, according to the actual NASA astronauts, but yet we've landed on the moon again because China did it a year ago, India apparently did it again, and now a private corporation under the vein of NASA called the Illumination, whatever the name of this company is, landed on the moon. Now you're brainwashing a whole new generation of morons to data. It's like a video game. It's a video game.
I see what you did there. Not only was he supporting the Odysseus mission, but his peers who built the payload.
I'm super proud of them. This is an amazing accomplishment.
This is a replica of the Nova Sea lander. It gives
There
you
it
a good
is.
idea
There's
of
the
what
lander.
the EagleCam looks like on the actual lander.
It's still got the gold tinfoil as the original moon lander. Intuitive machines. Intuitive machines built by Columbia. But there's the look of the lander. Looks a little bit better, the model, than the lander that landed on the moon. But there's no people in this one. It's just data. It's data. Did the solar flare that hit AT&T and the cell phone networks affect the data? This did happen on Thursday. This did happen around the same time that the AT&T networks went out. That's what happened. It was a solar flare. It affected the intuitive lunar module lander, and it affected the video coverage and the video footage, as well as AT&T here on Earth.
The EagleCam deployed onto the moon. Its goal was to take pictures in the final.
Now it's called the EagleCam. Now they're talking about the EagleCam and how it had problems and why we get no footage. Hopefully they mention the solar flares.
I'm super proud of them. This is an amazing accomplishment.
We built the
This
payload.
is a replica of the Nova Sea lander. It gives you a good idea of what the EagleCam looks like on the actual lander. Once the EagleCam deployed onto the moon, its goal was to take pictures in the final 20 seconds of the lander's descent.
The final 20 seconds only.
For a moment, the watch party group was nervous, awaiting confirmation the lander actually touched down on the moon. Associate Professor of Aerospace Engineering at ERAU, Dr. Troy Henderson, says so was the student team.
The team was all huddled together, biting our nails and waiting, really anticipating that call out. But seeing it happen was great.
Nobody saw
Be any
nothing.
more proud of this team. They've done some amazing work.
Christopher Hayes is one of the lead engineers on the EagleCam team.
Finally being able to be a part of a story that's been 52 years in the making. It is really an honor and a privilege.
In Daytona Beach, Treasure Roberts, getting results, News 6.
For updates on the moon mission, subscribe to our Space Coast and Beyond newsletter. You can go to clickorlando.com/newsletter.
Oh my gosh, guys. Again, I don't know what to debunk, what not to debunk, what you believe, what you don't believe. But again, the Eagle camera that was built with today's technology would only get 20 seconds of photographs while it landed on the moon. So, all you're going to see is a bunch of white spots, like on a soundstage, and click, 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 for 20 seconds. And we landed! Well, why can't it take pictures while it's in space every 5 hours? While it's going to the moon every 3 hours? Why can't it take pictures? You put a technology camera on it, why are we only going to get 20 seconds of footage? But again, there was a glitch, so it's not working. But why didn't you program it to film or go live? We put a car into space. Tesla put a car into space on a 24-hour live stream. Starman flying into space in a car, in a Tesla. There was a live 24-hour stream to try to prove it was real. But you can't put a live stream camera on this new intuitive machine. You got to put a 20-second payload called the Eagle Cam that'll only take digital pictures every second while it's landing. Not before, not after, not during. Just right before. But there was a technical glitch. Okay. Then you got all the morons that work for the company that are just reading screens and watching CGI graphics and listening to it play-by-play like it's a damn video game contest. The Eagle has landed. Yeah, there's no wonder it's called the Eagle Cam Lunar Lander. The Eagle has landed. Oh, shit! America's finally back into the space race. And all these TV shows have moon landings. They're living on the moon. They've developed the technology, the special effects to brainwash the masses for a new generation. That's just my opinion. And this is a crock of BS in my mind. Now let's watch these intelligent college graduate idiots that paid $50,000 to read data and mathematics on a screen and truly believe, and I feel sad for them, they truly believe they did something special and that they actually landed on the moon in a ship, but they had technical glitches. But they're proud of it and everything. They have not seen the truth, and they are so brainwashed, it makes me sad, because these are the new generations. And you can't fake a moon landing with mathematics. Well, you could slay a dungeon dragon in Dungeons and Dragons with mathematics. You roll a 20. And then the commander of the Dungeon and Dragon story tells you, you walked into a room. You landed on the moon. You took a slay at the monster on the top of the moon. You stabbed him with your silver sword. And it took 12 hit points away from that alien on the moon. But you landed. Oh, we landed! We slayed the alien monster on the moon. Why? Because the commander told you so. Now, let's watch this footage and dissect some other things that were in this footage that are behind the scenes that many people do not see. Naysayer says, I start my job at the observatory in April. I can't wait. You're going to come back a believer, Naysayer. You're going to come back a believer. Trust me, that's what it does. When you're around it, you believe it. You got to take a step back and use common sense. But let's quickly read this article. We continue to learn more about the vehicle-specific information, latitude and longitude, overall health, and altitude orientation, the company said in its update, adding that more data information is expected as a new news conference on Friday afternoon. Haven't watched it yet, been a little bit busy. But the spacecraft's position has been key question since the touchdown. They don't even know where it landed. They know it landed, but we had some data problems. We don't know where it landed. Why? Because people with telescopes should be able to see it land? I don't know, just saying. The spacecraft's position has been a key question since the touchdown on Thursday evening, as communications issues became an immediate concern, and flight controllers indicated that they were getting very weak signals from the vehicle. And while intuitive machines, remember micro machines? This is a bigger micro machine. And while Intuitive Machines said it also is working to process images from Odysseus cameras, they have cameras, Odysseus cameras, the company has not yet shared any pictures from the landing. Why? Because look, a couple of days before we had a photo shoot on a soundstage, and you know we're still working on all of those images. So let's say that it's a weak signal before we post these fake pictures. That way, because if people want to debunk the pictures and say, oh, that doesn't look real, it looks like it was on a soundstage, it's only in 480p, it's not even in HD. Well, we had a weak signal. We had a weak signal. That's why the pictures are diminished and pixelated. I don't know. But they gave you an excuse to give you another excuse later. Still, the spacecraft has already accomplished its historic feat, becoming the first commercial spacecraft. What is that? It's the travel of commercial goods and services to the moon. Just like your license is a Class C, to travel with commercial goods and services. We talked about this on another show. The driver's license is the biggest fraud in America. You're an employee of the driver's license under Class C. This is a commercial spacecraft, meaning it's owned by another entity, but it's allowed to go to the moon with NASA. Why? Because NASA is like the DMV of that situation. So you're able to travel to the moon as long as you got a partnership with NASA. And you are now a commercial spacecraft. The DMV, you got to partner with them to get a commercial license in order to travel on the supposedly public highways. But this is a historic feat, becoming the first commercial spacecraft to soft land on the moon, and the first U.S.-made vehicle to touch down on the lunar surface since the Apollo program ended more than 5 decades ago. That's right, we had Indian spacecrafts and Chinese spacecrafts land on the moon just recently, but this is now the first American-made one to land on the moon. Okay, congratulations. Which is seeking to scout the moon using robotic explorers developed by private contractors. Okay, so there's a bunch of private contractors that put stuff on the payload to explore the moon. What are these private contractors? Are they all government? Are they all NASA? Are they Chinese private contractors? I don't know. Does the moon even exist? I got too many questions. But this is interesting because there's a show on TV that I'm watching called For All Mankind, and it explains in the first season this exact scenario, how they went to the moon, built bases on the moon, and private contractors and corporations took it all over while they were in a space race. So, is this reality becoming reality? Or is this fraud becoming reality? Or is this fraud continuing to be fraud or lies? You be the judge. Which is seeking to scout the moon using robotic explorers developed by private contractors before sending astronauts there later this decade through its Artemis program. Okay, so they're all named after Greek gods or Greek lore. Odysseus, Artemis. Artemis is a vein, isn't that? Or is that artillery? I don't know. Whatever, leave it alone. And then listen to this quote. This is really interesting. Today is one small step for man. I'm sorry. Today, for the first time in more than half a century, The United States has returned to the moon, said NASA Administrator Bill Nelson. Today is a day that shows the power and will stand in infamy. I'm sorry. That's another media public quote for an event that was manipulated. Today is a day that shows the power and promise of NASA's commercial partnerships. NASA not only gets like $35 million a day from our taxpayer-funded stuff to be an exploring entity in America, but it's NASA all around the world. They are the company that controls space and all the information. Look into it. But NASA, today is a day that shows the power and promise of NASA's commercial partnerships. Now they get more money from commercial partnerships with other companies that believe space is real. So not only do they get $36 million a day, there's those numbers again, 36, 3 sixes. Now they're getting more money with partnerships. They're franchising. They're franchising space. Congratulations to everyone involved in this great and daring quest on Dungeons and Dragons. I'm sorry, astronauts in space. Oh, guys, it just boggles my mind. Now, this is the video y'all been waiting for. Let's watch their reaction when they were tensely waiting from the overlords and the NASA commanders and the data stream capabilities to let them know they've landed. They've landed. And they're all at a computer screen, like a video game. It's like watching a video game and believing it's real. That's how you can fake it very easily. Guys, all you need is believers and fools. Now, notice in the middle of this footage, they have the Earth map or diagram on like a holographic sheet or something, but it's actually showing the flat Earth. Are they telling us something? You be the judge. Let's watch this footage and laugh while they play this video game and wait for the commandments from the overlords. And they see it on screen in CGI. Literally, there's like CGI pictures and fakeness in the background in the command center.
All stations, this is Mission Director on IM-1. We're evaluating how we can refine that signal and dial in the pointing for our dishes. What we can confirm, without a doubt, is our equipment is on the surface of the moon, and we are transmitting. So, congratulations, IM team. We'll see how much more we can get from that.
Now, let's cut to all the people that believe it.
An excellent call from our mission director, Dr. Tim Crane.
IM-1.
And over to our CEO, Steve Altus.
Yeah, if I could just pass on a few words to the entire team in Intuitive Machines at SuperBab and here in the Mission Control. What an outstanding effort. I know this was a nail biter, but we are on the surface and we are transmitting. And welcome to the moon.
All the
Houston,
people that built it or helped it or
Odysseus
whatever,
has found his new
don't
home.
believe this bullshit. I'm sorry, guys. It sucks to laugh at their dreams. They're just not awake. They don't realize this stuff. We don't even know what the moon really is. It could be made of plasma. Is it a surface? Is there behind the moon? I don't know. But none of this stuff has been answered, and they're pulling the rugs over our eyes with propaganda like this. And again, did you all see the flat Earth that they have in the middle of the room? And their computers are spaced out like they're in space. One area would be the moon, the next area would be Pluto, the next area would be the sun, while the flat Earth is in the middle. I'm just saying.
this was a nail biter, but we are on the surface, and we are transmitting, and welcome to the moon.
It's a nail biter.
Houston, Odysseus has found his new home.
Odysseus has found his new home. All right. God, I used to love space.
An excellent call from our mission director.
There's the flat earth. I used to love space and all that stuff. And throughout this entire broadcast, the flat earth changes. So it's like a hologram or a video feed of supposedly what the earth looks like. It's just ridiculous. But I want to believe in space. I want to believe in all the sci-fi stuff that I love watching. I just can't get into it. When we hear the truth from astronauts in plain sight where they say we've never went above low Earth's orbit. When we hear people like Neil Armstrong tell little kids in videos, oh, one day we'll actually go to the moon because we've never been there. And you just have to ask yourself these questions. This is all for money. NASA is a company now with partnerships, commercial deals, other companies paying NASA to be a part of the space race, to faking it. NASA knows how to fake moon landings, so that's what they do. They partner with these companies, and then they figure out a data center, and they figure out how they can fake it with statistical data, numbers, and no video footage. There's always an issue. You guys let me know what you think, man. Naysayers, NASA got $24 billion in taxes last year. I can't wait to see these fake-ass pictures, and they're all fools. Todd Kresh, okay, that was from earlier. This is insane to me, if anybody believes this stuff, guys. Now, speaking of space and AT&T, bringing it back to the AT&T solar flares or whatever they call it, well, guess what's going to happen in about a month or two? There's going to be a total, not partial, a total solar eclipse on April 8th. The longest and most visible for the U.S. in 100 years. That's right, we have not had the longest and most visible solar eclipse in the U.S. for 100 years. And what's around the eclipse is also the Devil Comet. That's right. They call the comet the devil. We're in a holy war. We got solar flares. And is space real? We're landing on the moon. I don't know. Are they putting equipment on the moon, if it's real, to fake an alien invasion? To fake something with holograms? I don't know. Because I believe the moon is in our atmosphere. Like maybe we live under a dome or something, or we can't pass the firmament. That's if you're religious. But the Devil Comet, that's right, it's called the Devil Comet. If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what does. Will be visible during the 2024 solar eclipse. When a total solar eclipse attains a duration of over 4 minutes, it should certainly be considered an exceptional eclipse. So the eclipse is going to happen for over 4 minutes. And you can see it from most of the U.S. and the world. And the Devil Comet, when the solar eclipse happens, the Devil Comet, the red Devil's Comet, will brighten up. And if you look for it, you can see it with binoculars or something. So they're going to black out the sun, and then a Devil Comet is approaching. Some stuff to think about, guys. Some stuff to think about. Skills, Carmite. Hi, Bauer. How can somebody get you as a guest on their podcast? Or how can someone just befriend and hang out with you? Well, I got social medias down below. And if you would like me on one of your podcasts, I don't have a job, so I ask for a guest fee. But hit me up in social media or DMs or email, and maybe we can make that happen. Thank you very much. All right, guys. Now let's get into some fun stuff. Let's get into some pop culture news and some other stuff. Get rid of this dark, scary, fake, fraudulent lies. And get into some more lies. I'm just kidding. here's a little bit of latest news of the pop culture, the movie, the TV film realm that I kind of wanted to talk about. I've been wanting to watch Madam Web. I love the Spider-Man universe, but apparently they did it all wrong. I haven't had a chance to watch it. Maybe I will this weekend, or maybe I'll just wait till it comes on streaming. But apparently Sony blew it again with woke, whatever, and really bad storyline, probably written by AI. Sony's franchise hopes were dashed after Madam Web implodes, I think only making $5 million on one day, and then probably making $12 million the entire weekend of opening weekend. So that doesn't work. That doesn't work. But I still love the Spider-Man universe, but apparently they're crushing it like they did the Marvel universe. And then a friend of mine from many years ago, I mean, I call him a friend because we hung out. I know him. I played poker with him. He was on the 70s show. I visited the 70s show a lot. I became friends with Ashton Kutcher on many different occasions. And we all know what happened to Danny Masterson. There was RAPE allegations, and then he was convicted in a court of law. And I think he got 20 to 50 years or something in prison. And, I mean, again, I can't speak on it, whether it happened or not. I do not know. It's not my situation. I stay away from that stuff. But he's also a Scientologist, and I experimented with Scientology at his behest and Laura Prepron's behest many years ago. And I was even awake back then to realize that this is some BS. But yes, I started to delve into that realm at their behest. And I got away from that. And needless to say, there was one afternoon where I had to pull out a shotgun to get rid of somebody from Scientology. It's a fake prop shotgun, but, it looked real. But that's a story for another day. But apparently Danny Masterson, he's in a maximum security prison. Maximum, like a bad prison right now for 90 days. Then I'm sure they're going to move him to a better environment or a less secure prison or whatever to help him out, because he's going to be recognized by a lot of the inmates, and we don't know what trouble they can get into. But it's an interesting story, guys, and yeah. You guys think that my life is sad, that I'm not working in TV and film all the time, and that I don't have a lot of money or whatever. But I ain't dead off of drugs. I do not OD. I just cry and get emotional, and I sleep. I'm not in jail. I'm not overdosing on drugs or alcohol, except during the Super Bowl I did on alcohol. I'm doing good. I'm doing real good. So, don't worry about me. Now, there's a Back to the Future theory that I just saw. It came out a couple years ago, but I barely saw it just recently. And I want to know your guys' take. Plus, I'm also going to represent another Back to the Future theory right after we watch this theory. And I want your guys' opinion, whether you believe it's real or not. Let's watch this video. Was Back to the Future and the Goonies happening at the same time? This is a fantastic theory.
Crazy theory that this day in time was the same day as the original Back to the Future. The present day was October 26, 1985. We know for a fact this was Goonies happened on a Saturday. Mouth said, "What is this, a nuclear Saturday?" at the beginning, right? And they're not in school, right? We do know it's October. Brand is doing sit-ups, and there's a calendar that says October. And there's a newspaper in this scene that they find with the Fratellis, and it says October 24th, 1985, with the Fratellis being at large. It's got their photos. So we're like assuming that this is 2 days later on October 26th, Saturday. This magical date and time happened. Back to the Future and Goonies, same day.
Wow.
Pretty fantastic theory, guys. What do you think? It holds weight. The dates were shown on the newspaper, in the calendars, they were spoken in word, and they were shown on the flux capacitor and inside the car, those specific dates and times. Let's be honest. With Spielberg, that date probably holds a significant meaning to him for whatever reason that we may not know, but it was placed in the movies. I don't call it a coincidence. I do not call it a coincidence. That's a fascinating theory. I believe it. The Goonies and Back to the Future happened that same 24 to 36 hours. I believe it. I'm good. Now, another theory that I saw and witnessed and posed to my friends, but I didn't come up with it. How many times... what's the villain's name in Back to the Future? Sorry, guys, my mind blanks sometimes. Butthead. What's the villain's name in Back to the Future? Guys, I am so sorry. My brain is overactive half the time. What is that guy's name? Biff! Biff! Sorry, guys, I had to think. Biff. Okay. So, here's the theory. How many times did Michael J. Fox or Marty McFly actually DIE in Back to the Future? How many times, Collector's Conquest, you should watch 5 minutes earlier, we're talking about a theory, about theories in Back to the Future and Goonies. But how many times did Marty McFly DIE in Back to the Future? Well, the traditional answer, people will say, when I tell them this, they think, and they're like, what? Never. Marty McFly never DIE in Back to the Future. Yes. Why? Because at every opportunity of violence or hatred, or an opportunity where Marty McFly could have been KILLED'd, he was saved by Doc Brown. I don't have all the moments in front of me, but think about it. There was multiple opportunities where Marty McFly could have perished or start to DIE, and Doc Brown saved him or was around at that exact moment. Just for example, off the top of my head, the car chase in the tunnel. Marty McFly and Biff are in a car chase where they could collide. And Doc Brown brings the vehicle, the DeLorean, down with a rope of flags. And Marty McFly grabs it and he's saved. He possibly could have DIE'd at that occasion, but Doc Brown saved him. Then there's also other instances, like in Back to the Future 3, where Marty McFly's about to get SHOT by Biff. Then Doc Brown shoots his weapon and shows up there. And there are other instances, I promise you, multiple, where Marty McFly, if you think about if it would have continued to happen, he would have been KILLED'd. But Doc Brown saves him on all of those instances. So, people that answer Marty McFly never perished, you're correct. Because Doc Brown saved him. Because Doc Brown invented the time machine. And Doc Brown goes on adventures, and since the first time he went back in time in the DeLorean, he realized he had to protect Marty the rest of his life. That's why in part 2 he came back to protect his kids. And then at every instance, even in the past where they went back to the past twice, he saves Marty at every instance because Doc Brown has been through it 1,000 times before. And he realized if I don't interject at this moment, Marty McFly will perish and cease to exist, and the timeline will be erased. So I have to travel the rest of my natural history and save Marty McFly and all these instances and fix them. This brings you back to something like Quantum Leap. But that's what happened. Marty McFly almost perishes on multiple occasions, and Doc Brown is spending the rest of his life fixing the timeline and saving Marty and his family. That is Doc Brown's existence. Even though he sped off in the train, that was another Doc Brown that lived happily ever after. That's the theory, and I'm sticking to it. You guys let me know what you think. Hey, Bauer, have you been in the tunnels underneath the Playboy Mansion? I have not been to the Playboy Mansion, my good dude. I have not. Rebel Raiders Online, what's up, dude? All right, guys, those are some interesting theories. And Collector's Conquest, did you watch that theory that I just showed about Back to the Future? Not the one that I talked about, Marty McFly, but that Back to the Future and the Goonies happened on the same day. That's right. I'm going to watch it again just for s and giggles.
Crazy theory that this day in time was the same day as the original Back to the Future. The present day was October 26, 1985. We know for a fact this was Goonies happened on a Saturday. Mouth said, "What is this, a nuclear Saturday?" at the beginning, right? And they're not in school, right? We do know it's October. Brand is doing sit-ups, and there's a calendar that says October. And there's a newspaper in this scene that they find with the Fratellis, and it says October 24th, 1985, with the Fratellis being at large. It's got their photos. So we're like assuming that this is 2 days later on October 26th, Saturday, this magical date and time happened. Back to the Future and Goonies, same day.
Wow. That's awesome. That is so awesome, guys. Hey, there's Faith Mystic, one of the guests from my show a while back. Pretty awesome, guys. All right. I didn't really watch, I watch a lot of TV shows, the cooking shows and whatever I can. But I don't want to go into in-depth information on every episode. So I'm not presenting the TV shows that I watched this week. But I was able to watch one movie this week, and I watched Aquaman 2. That's right. It took me years. It took me till like 4 months ago to watch the first Aquaman, but I finally watched that about 4 months ago, and now I watched this one. And what are my thoughts on it? Did it get worse? Did it get better? It was enjoyable. The Amber Heard situation, I can see it really affected this movie because there was information that she was going to be cut out. They were going to recast her as the wife, and she's going to be cut out from the movie. And they did none of the above. They didn't cut her out of the movie completely. They didn't recast or reshoot. But what they did do by being an actor and watching it, she's still in the movie. But there's many instances throughout this film, and is talking to his father. Something big is happening in Atlantis or underwater, and apparently his wife is in the meetings all the time. But he's out of the water taking care of the baby in the house on the island while talking to his father having a beer. And they're talking about something serious, the heart-to-heart. But he's talking to his father. While the wife is in Atlantis under the ocean, not taking care of the baby. So Aquaman is at home with his father, taking care of the baby, talking about heart-to-hearts and big decisions for Atlantis with his father, while the wife is in the ocean. Well, that's not plausible. Now, the reason this is in all of those scenes, it probably was the wife as well. Aquaman was talking to his wife, taking care of the kid in the house on the island. And that scene originally was filmed with Amber Heard and Aquaman talking. But then I believe with all the Amber Heard nonsense and controversy, they cut out all of those scenes with Amber Heard, and then they replaced it with the father. So that way she's still in the movie, she's still an integral part of the movie, she's just not in 90% of the scenes anymore. She's now in 40% of the scenes. So that was something interesting that I noticed while watching Aquaman. And I hate that the ending happens in a cave, underground, and it's a bunch of action, and I didn't see anything new technology-wise. I thought everybody looked better in costumes with the CGI in the first Aquaman. Everything looked much more polished and presented, but I did enjoy this storyline, and I really enjoyed Randall Park, the actor, the Asian actor in this movie. I really enjoyed his storyline. But one issue I took place with this movie is the ending of the movie and the storyline behind the scenes that we find out at the end of it. Spoiler alert ahead, guys. But this movie was written by Hollywood writers. And if you're anywhere in the conspiracy realm like I am, you've heard about pedophilia. You've also heard about Adreno Google Chrome. You've heard about Adreno Google Chrome. That's where they KILL and take the baby's BLLLOD into drinking it, and they get youth, they get energy, and they also believe they're doing rituals to summon demonic entities. Now, what does adrenochrome and demonic entities and babies have to do with Aquaman? Well, like I said, the official storyline of Aquaman 2 is a seventh kingdom full of demons and demonic entities want to come back to public and take over the earth. And they need the blood of an Atlantean, of a royal Atlantean. And the only people that have that blood are Aquaman, his brother, who they freed out of prison, and the newly made baby with Amber Heard. So these demonic spirits and the people working with them kidnapped the baby to get his blood to bring back the evil, satanic, demonic Atlantean seventh kingdom. So people in Hollywood that are possibly allegedly doing and eating babies and doing all that stuff to bring back Satan, demonic entities, wrote a script where that is the main focus at the end of the movie and presented that imagery. People in Hollywood that possibly do it wrote it in their movie. And they always say they show you the truth in movies. That's all I'm going to say about that. I enjoyed Aquaman 2, but I had plenty of issues with it. It's a good movie. It didn't bother me. 2.5 hours long, whatever it was, didn't bother me. But it didn't break any new ground, and it didn't make me think that anything got better from that aspect. And our superhero movie's dead. But I'll be honest, Aquaman looks pretty cool every once in a while in that costume, and it's kind of fun to watch. But still, no new Hollywood film or technology breaking ground with storyline or writing or CGI or anything has happened with these movies in Aquaman 2. All right, guys, let's get to today's winner of the Super Chats. We had none. I did not get any, if not many. I did have a purchase on my merchandise store through Jason Smith, independently blind. He did donate as well on my merchandise store. And I had a couple of donations during today's show, but we did not reach the number of 28. in Super Chat donation dollars to win a prize from my store. And every time I give away a prize, it costs me $10 to $12. So we couldn't even hit 28. And then YouTube takes half of this almost. So I would have made $14, maybe $16. And I would have spent $12 on the prize to send to you. So I would have made $4 or $5 officially. But we couldn't even reach that amount. So I'm a little sad. But we had a lot of technology issues on today's show. But there's nothing I can say or do about that. But congratulations to the former winners of the merchandise and the swag. And you'll have an opportunity next week's show. And then if you want an opportunity at the end of the month, in today's video, not in the chat, the live chat room, in the forum down below, write, I want to win. And your name will be put into a hat. And then I'll pick a winner from that hat like we did last week. But that'll be in another 2 or 3 weeks. All right. Who's next week's guest? I don't know. There's a few things happening in my life. I have a few of them lined up to possibly film on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, or if not, even Wednesday. But it hasn't been officially made, so I don't know who I will have on next week's show. And let me be honest with you guys, there's a possibility that I will not be having a live show next week because I have an invitation to go to Las Vegas with Fluffy Gamer, OGP, Brendan Mitchell, Wet Movie 1, and Shinastalker. I have an opportunity to travel with them to Vegas free of charge and hang out with them and just get out of the house and go on an adventure. And I believe that will officially be that Friday that we're leaving. So, there might not be an episode next week. But I will return with some videos. I might go live in Las Vegas for you guys with my phone if I can find internet. Because I'm not going to use my data. I only get 1 gigabyte of data on my phone for the cheap price. Because I pay like $17 a month. That's all I can afford. But if I can find internet, I'll go live on my phone and say hi from Las Vegas. And look forward to another Happy Alien podcast in 2 weeks. And I appreciate you guys. And we got a donation. I wish it would have came up on screen. But we got a donation from Krautcat. I love your avatar. For $9.99. He said, here you go, Mikey. I'm sorry I got here late. No worries, Krautcat. To be honest, dude, I've been online since 12 o'clock today. I've been online for 10 hours. I've tried to go live on this podcast 3 times. And it finally worked at 7 o'clock about 3 hours ago. Technology, internet, streaming, whatever happened. But we got a show in. And now I'm done for the night. I'm going to go make some top ramen. Because that's all I can afford to eat nowadays with beans and rice on my limited income. But thank you for the $10. I love you, brother. But we still didn't reach our goal. I would gladly give you the gift, Krautcat. But we still did not reach our goal. But I thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting and being there for me. And then Midnight Owl is online. The guest that we watched 35 minutes of her show. She's online. She said, thanks for having me on. Looking forward to the full podcast. It is available for members only with her interview online right now for $2. Become a member. Check her out. And I will release it probably next week. Instead of doing an actual podcast, I'll release her podcast to the public next week. So you guys, if you're not a member, you can watch it. But guys, sign up. Check her out. She's awesome. She's beautiful. So, Jimmy Bennett, Born Mush, Krautcat, Zigguratch, Naysayers, Ezra, Midnight Owl. I love you guys. I'm getting out of here. It's been a 10-hour day to probably make in total $10. Woo! I'm doing something good. I'm making $1 an hour. But I shouldn't complain. You guys are supporting, and I love you. It's been a long day, guys. I got to get out of here. Thank you so much for subscribing, being a member, a fan of this channel, and I'll see you as soon as possible.